All right, guys, welcome to the Multiply podcast. We're in the studio today with Pete, my good friend, one of my closest friends in the world, longtime friend.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, we've been on a long journey together, you and I. We were celebrating 4th of July together last night, and your wife told me that in her Facebook memory, that old photo of us came up when we were in Mexico together years and years ago. It was like 15 years and 20 pounds ago, something,
That was before arthritis.
Yeah. So good stuff. And we were just talking about, it's funny because for the last about a week or so, we've been kind of chewing on a bunch of different ideas about what to talk about. And kind of this morning, I was just spending time with the Lord in prayer out on my patio and just having a conversation with him. And we kind of switched gears last second, but I don't know, I just felt really, I really want people to know your story, Pete, because I know so much of your story and it's made such an impact in my life. I know that for sure. And I know that, right? So like in Revelation, it says, and we will overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And testimonies are so powerful in connecting with people. What's been an interesting part of the journey over the last maybe month and a half since we've launched this podcast is so many people have reached out in connection to the way that things that we've discussed in our podcast or things that I've discussed with other people in podcasts have made such an impact in their lives. And it's just so wild because it's like, man, I have no idea what's going on in everybody's life, obviously, but like the Lord knows. And so it's been so neat seeing how it's just reached out and impacted people's several degrees of separation.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of come back full circle. Like I know that you know about this, but there's a young lady and a young guy in my small group discipleship that I teach on Sunday nights, and they're Slavic, and she's from New York, which is pretty wild originally, and they have like a big family group chat, and one of her relatives texts like, "Hey, you guys should check out this podcast," and she's like, "That's my Bible study teacher," and like it's gone out, and I have no idea how it's reached out so far and come back, and then even with you had shared with me some stories about how it had connected to different people and then it kind of come back and so on. And it's just neat seeing, how far it penetrates and how much it connects with people. And so anyways, what I wanted to do today is I just wanted to talk a little bit about your journey. Because I think that there's a lot of immigrant Americans and even Americans that can really relate to just the walk and the honesty and all of that. So welcome to the podcast. And
Thank you.
yeah,
And thank you for having me on again, man.
oh, it's always a joy,
Yeah.
man. It's always a joy being together. So tell me, how did you grow up? You grew up in the church. You grew up not going to church. You come from a Christian family. You don't. What was that experience like?
Yeah. A lot of people, especially in the American churches I work with, they're like, dude, where are you born at? Everyone says you're the Romanian. So actually, my family immigrated to the United States to New Jersey. Back in the 70s and 80s, people went to New Jersey, New York.
Right.
Like that was the way,
That was the doorway into
That
America.
was the doorway into
Mhm.
America. So my mom and dad, they're exited back then what was Romania communist country, right? And then my dad had a failed attempt, of course, right? Spent a couple times, like a year something in prison because he was a deserter. And
Oh, so he tried to run the border and flee, essentially,
yeah,
communism.
he tried to flee. That's exactly
and
right.
he got caught.
Yeah, well, the special police would come to your house. They'd beat up your wife. They'd beat up your kids. They'd beat up your parents. And then they'd get information on you.
Right.
Or, you would tell someone in a church, but secretly they were reported to the party.
Right.
Like everyone has these stories. And I take it so for granted that it's a good story.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Because everyone in our community had the same story, right? Oh, yeah.
Oh, you too?
Your dad also went to Popashopka,
Yeah.
The Pope's hat.
Yeah. My dad was in the same prison your dad was.
Hey, what year was your dad in prison?
Yeah, but that's our heritage.
That's our heritage, right? So after a failed attempt, like some random church in New York sponsored our family.
American church?
American church.
Wow.
We never met. And we ended up coming to America, or my family did, through Rome. They did Lager, like refugee camp in Rome. And
that's where my dad was, in refugee camp as well in Rome.
and my dad has these fond stories of, man, there was watermelons and food, and everybody got fat and happy. And you think refugee camp, like, oh God, they must have slept on cots and tents. And they're like, it was the promised land.
It was so much better than life in communist
Communist
Romania.
Romania, yeah.
Yeah, my dad tells me there was a guy, a Romanian guy, who was waiting for him there in Italy, in Lagar, and they were waiting for our family with shelled peanuts and Coca-Cola. And to this day, that combination, it just teleports my dad back in time.
Yeah, yeah. But so when my mom and dad immigrated to the States, you know, they were married and they had my 3 older sisters. And then somewhere in Lagar, mom got pregnant with me. So when they came to New Jersey in '79, she was pregnant with me. So in 1980, I was born in New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were conceived in refugee camp.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. What's wild is too just the stories of our parents. Like they came to the States. My dad had a brother, and just proud immigrants, happy to be in America.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Hardworking, didn't know any English, like nothing. Like my mom and dad went to the hospital with me. Like my mom went to the doctor, and she tells me, she's like, we were terrified. We didn't know what they were talking, what they were asking.
Right.
We just answered no to everything because we thought maybe they're going to ask if we want to put you up for adoption or something. Right?
That's so like adventurous, pioneering, take your life into your own hands.
Yeah.
Terrifying, but man, the boldness of our parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's a dying breed.
And then you look at the day, oh, we're not going to go down that track.
Yeah. But one of the funny side notes of that is, you know, my mom not really seeking medical advice on anything. She was probably most likely a horrible gestational diabetic. So I just exponentially grew, right? She comes to America. There's all this food, all this nutrients. There's processed food. There's sugar. There's bread. So I ended up breaking the record at the hospital where I was born in New Jersey. I was 12 pounds.
You were a 12-pound baby.
Yeah. Like my, you know, my youngest baby picture, I look like the Michelin man as a baby.
So wild.
Like, you know, so fat that my arms kind of poked out a little bit, you know, just.
And I bet your parents were thinking, oh, he's so cute. It's, you know, look
how adorable he is.
He's so well fed.
Yeah.
You know, that's so funny. Dude.
So, yeah, so that was life there. And luckily I was a baby. I didn't remember the hardest parts of it. Like they lived in a place called Country Village, like where you just had a studio apartment and there was a communal bathroom in the middle.
Oof.
You know, but just insanely hardworking, hard work ethic, you know. They just basically were at work all the time. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of our stories as immigrant kids is that mom and dad just went at work all day. Like mom and dad had a business. Mom and dad had bobbing.
That's it.
Mom and dad had a construction company. Mom and dad did janitorial at nighttime, you know. And
multiple jobs, always. Yeah.
16-hour days, you know, and then, you know, I remember listening to TV and watching some things about latchkey kids. Like, dude, that was me. Like, right? But so we grew up there, and I have very few memories of New Jersey. I remember that my parents were super proud of like what they could accomplish. Like in their first year of America, they had a brand new Chevy Malibu and a house. They owned a house
in their first year of America.
Yeah. Well, it didn't hurt that my dad came to the States and he had a macarajist license, a crane operator license.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, if you're not Romanian listening to this, most people in Eastern Europe speak 4 or 5 languages. So my dad met some guys at White Westinghouse in New Jersey. And they're like, Peter, we like you. And they're speaking like a different language. I think they're speaking Slovak. And they're like, why don't you get a job here? It's like, dude, I don't know anything about electrical. It's like, dude, just tell him you're an electrician. You just came from a foreign country. So he shows them his crane operator license. And he's like, electrician. So in his first year of America, he's making like, in 1980s, making like $18 an hour.
Oh, wow.
So
that's money in the 80s.
In the 80s. Think about it. Right now, we live in the South. People make $18 an hour.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
So everything went great. Like they were doing really good. But in around 85, when I was 5, we moved to California. And
Southern California?
Yeah. Garden Grove, or we used to call it Garbage Grove.
Huge Romanian community.
Yeah.
In SoCal.
So Romanians always move to places where there's other Romanians.
Right.
You know? But
except these ones.
Except for these ones, yeah.
Except for us.
Yeah. I keep listening. When I moved here 5 years ago, I kept listening to foreign people's conversations, just hoping they're Romanian. You know, oh, that's another Russian. I'd just be like Slava Bogu, you know?
Slava Bogu.
Yeah. But You know, I grew up in a family where my parents were married, and I was the youngest, and I was the only boy, so I was already kind of alone. You know what I mean? I had three older sisters; they were living their lives. My oldest sister is 10 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
My next sibling is 4 years older than me, and I grew up with not a lot, you know, because when you're an immigrant kid, you can't go to your American friends' house.
Right.
You're different. You look different. I'd go to school with like church clothes on
Yeah.
and get picked on relentlessly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Same.
my culture was different. Everything was different about me. And that already created a hurt, you
Mm.
know, of not belonging, of not being good enough. And then I couple that with our home life was never peaceful. Like, I want to start off by saying that I always believed in God, but I also equally always believed that if I died, I would go to hell.
Mm.
Like,
Even as like a young man, like as a kid.
as a kid, like I can never measure up.
Mm.
I can never receive unmerited love. Like,
Mm.
Christ can't possibly love me
Right.
that much.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
My mom grew up in a family where her mom was like a real prayer warrior. You know, like
This is your grandmother.
my grandmother on my mother's side.
She had a
She
reputation.
had a reputation, Zorica Popa. Like, she was a prophetess, dude. She had this amazing gift of prophecy. Like, my mom grew up oldest of 12 kids, prayer meetings at their house all the time. And during communism times where it was highly illegal to do such a thing.
Yeah, you get thrown into prison. You
Get
lose
thrown
your
into
job.
prison, yeah. Where you're ostracized for being crazy because you're Taipokaiti or Pentecostal,
Yeah.
you
You
know?
lost your mind.
And my dad's side, it was completely different. It was a lot of brokenness,
Mm.
you know? Like his mom, my grandmother, ended up dying of cirrhosis. Like,
Oh,
just,
wow.
yeah, it just dark, really dark, you know? And my dad, I mean, hindsight's always 2020. Like,
Right.
growing up, I'd hear like about his story and why he was the way he was, you know? When he was dying, he would tell me stories like, my dad passed away a couple years ago, but he's like, when I was like 10, my mom would just bribe the school teacher in the town with a pig or a chicken or some kind of palinka, right? Homemade alcohol or something. And she would just lend him at that age to landowners, and he would just live on his own in a barn and work farms from the age of like 10.
That's great.
And he actually opened up before he passed away. He's like, you know what? I remember being at work and my mom would come to the farm where I'd be given as a slave labor, basically. And she would come pick up my paycheck and not even see me,
Oh,
you know?
that's
So,
heartbreaking. Dude.
you know,
Yeah.
and nowadays, you know, like, do you even let your kid go down to the mailbox?
No. No. I have a little bit of a longer driveway, and he's not
Yeah.
allowed to bring up the trash cans on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, the dynamic of this man, like, he was a hurt child,
Yeah.
hurt man, and hurt people.
That's the truth.
And misery loves company. So he wasn't there where he should have been for me. Like, you know, normally your mom and dad are the ones who are supposed to take care of you,
Right.
to nurture you,
Right.
to raise you, to do these things. But in our house, it was the complete opposite. Like, it was always chaos. It was always violence. It was always fighting. There was always I was always in you know, I learned through working through foster kid camps. They teach us all the continual education. They teach us about all the words, why these kids are like this. And I go to the continual education for this foster kid camp thing I do, you know, and I was like, dude, that explains everything, you know. I spent the majority of my childhood in fight or flight,
Yeah.
just constantly just nervous. So
So the Royal Family Kids Camp, which is a great project. I think your wife sits on the board for them.
yeah,
And you guys have been doing that for years. The
5
foster
years.
kid
Yeah.
camp, right?
yeah,
And that's wild. Going through the training helped shed some light in your own journey.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
wild, man.
absolutely. And it's like, oh, that's okay. That explains why I'm broken. But you know, keep in mind, I can't dive into everything that I went through as a child,
Sure.
right? Because, you know, just out of respect for my family and stuff. But I could say this: it was just like every bad choice a father could make, basically, is what my dad would make. And there was always tension. And there wasn't tension because mom and dad might fight. Mom and dad might fight. It might get violent, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you hear about kids getting grounded. I remember joking around with you, like, I wish I got grounded,
Yeah.
dude. Well, we just got punched and hit, you know.
Oh, man.
But basically, you know, my father would make these decisions, and he wouldn't be the husband
Mm.
and the dad that he should have been. And as a kid, you look up to your dad, you know,
Yeah.
and it just caused an insane amount of brokenness in my life, you know, and it wasn't just private. Like, it even got to a point where I remember when I was in junior high in Oregon. This is in the early 90s, you know, like before the internet. Before the internet, where'd you get your news?
You you would talk to people.
You talk to people, or you read the newspaper.
Yeah, or the newspaper
Yeah.
or something on TV. But
I remember he had done something really vile that got him arrested. And all of a sudden, like, the private hurt that I went through as a child at home now became public.
oof,
You
oof.
know, dad gets arrested. It's for a despicable thing. I'm in junior high, and
So you're not a little kid anymore.
I'm not a little kid
Yeah.
anymore, you know, but I'm still
Still a child in a lot of senses.
just a really hurt kid,
Yeah.
man. Like, seeing things. One of my biggest things raising my sons was that I would let them have the joy of being innocent as a child.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna shield them from
Yeah.
adult things. Like, I never had that as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, dirty, vile things existed in the world, and I was never shielded from them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I remember this drama happens with my parents and my dad and, you know, other people involved in it. And then I
You
go
know,
to
it's public.
I go to school one day, dude, and I remember I'm walking the track at Gordon Russell Middle School, and these kids come behind me, and they pat me on the back like, "Hey, we heard about your dad." And I was like, just defeated, right?
Yeah.
Because the one place I have a chance of being cool and accepted at school,
Your escape.
my escape
Now it's
is
bled into it.
it's
Yeah.
bled into it, you know? And it doesn't hurt that I'm named after my dad. So Peter Boros
Mm.
is in the newspaper, you know? And dude, the shame.
Hmm.
The shame associated with that, and the hurt, like, and just going through things that kids shouldn't go through.
Right.
Like, I
Right.
remember mom and dad would get into, like, you know, a banger of a fight, and I would have to worry as a little kid about, is my mom okay?
Mm.
You know, I
You
remember.
shouldn't have to worry about your parents as a kid.
No.
If they're okay.
Yeah, like, everything they went through was on display to us kids, you
Mm.
know? And what did that make us kids? Did it make us, like, come together more and just have each other's backs? No, we all, like, recluded, you know?
And you try to deal with your stuff as you knew.
Yeah, and, like, I remember just being in junior high, not junior high, elementary school, Hall Elementary School in Gresham, and, like, you know, all the other kids are going through their own things, you know, upset that they couldn't watch TV or go to their friends' houses. And I remember my last period, my last class in that elementary school was music. And I remember after they would get in fights, I'd be watching that clock on the wall like a hawk. Like, dude, it's almost 3:30, dude. I wonder if my mom's okay. You
Ugh.
know, like, I hope she picks me up today.
Yeah.
You know,
That's rough.
and it was a very rough place to be in as a kid. Just like, that's the constant thing. You're always a burden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're always a problem. You're always in the way, you know, and you just don't ever really feel loved.
Hmm.
And
It's so crazy just hearing, you know, the early years.
yeah,
Like, I remember when your dad was on his last legs.
Yeah.
Like that last year, 2 years, you were traveling out there. You were fixing a bunch of stuff in his house. You were
Yeah.
sending me photos of different things, and
yeah, botched things that you built around there.
Yeah, out there digging in that Kalachi and Phoenix and all of
Yeah.
that, and him opening up to you about his childhood and stories
Yeah.
of his childhood, and it's like, man, there is such a cycle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, of brokenness, where it's like, because he never dealt with, you know, his brokenness. Because I know this is something that you and I talk about often, where like we'll talk to young men, you know, and they're like, oh, you know, like I had a really rough childhood and so on, you know, but they're like 35.
Yeah.
You know?
I was like, dude, get over it. We all had a terrible childhood.
And it's like, you know, I understand you had a bad childhood, and you know, maybe you know, some of the guys we've talked that had some really bad childhoods. It's like, okay, how long are you going to continue blaming other people before you take ownership of it?
Yeah.
You know, and then you look at, you know, like I remember you were telling me, you know, the story about your dad's childhood, and he just never really dealt with it,
No.
and so it ended up kind of poisoning, you know, further and passing on. But then that cycle ended with you, with your kids.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something to celebrate, you know, but it's just so wild to see that, like, if you don't deal with your hurt, it'll bleed out all over everybody else
It'll
around
bleed out
you.
everywhere.
Because I'm sure your dad never wanted that conclusion,
God no.
you know?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't, in that sense, like, how do I torture my children? It's just
Yeah.
the brokenness bleeding through is always my understanding.
Yeah. But now I look back at it and throughout that whole portion of my life, like I could see God's hands all over it.
Hmm.
Like all over it. Like at the time I thought I was by myself, but I wasn't.
Hmm.
Like in the midst of that hurt in junior high, and that was just one story. Like if I got into this, right? Like it
There's
anyways,
plenty of
there's
story.
there's plenty of meat on the bones that I'm leaving off, but dude, God placed a family across the street. I remember this new family moved in directly across the street, and they had a kid who was just a couple months older than me. His name was Andy, and
His name was Andy.
yeah,
This is the Wilsons across the street that you told me
right.
about.
That's right.
I didn't know that your friend was Andy Wilson.
Yeah,
That's so wild because your son's closest friend is Andy.
Andy grew up with Andy, right? His name is Peter.
Peter and Andy. I didn't even make this connection until right now.
Yeah.
That's
Something me and my wife laugh about, But God had set this up because I wasn't alone, and they were a Christian family, dude.
This is in Oregon?
In Oregon, directly across the street from me. So Andy's parents have gone on to be with the Lord since, but like that was my refuge. I would go across the street and everything, if I would have asked Andy, he would have been like, oh, my parents are nuts and da-da-da-da, right?
Perspective, right?
Perspective, right? He probably had complaints about him, right? But I'd go over there and it was like, it was my slice of heaven. And those Christian people accepted me as one of their own. Like they knew what was going on in my house. They were directly across the street. And I would go there. And this is something I always hope encourages Christian families. If your kid has a broken kid come around, accept them.
Yeah. That's really good
Not
advice,
at the
man.
detriment of your kid, but God might be doing something.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was early 12, 13, 10,
Man.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? And I would go there and, dude, I would see things like how a husband treats a wife.
That's so wild.
Husbands and wives telling each other they love each other, telling their kids they love them. Kids going and hugging their parents and kissing them and declaring their love to each other. Like, I know this sounds super rudimentary and like simple, but to a little hurt kid, it was like, it was something I wasn't used to. Like I would only see that on television.
In our Eastern European community, it's very abnormal to tell your parents that you love each other. In fact, all of our parents would be like, "Oh, that's so like American to tell your parents, or for the parents to tell everybody I love you, I love you." But it's like if you see it in your environment, you're like, "Why don't I have it at home?" And there is a whole sea of Eastern Europeans that are listening to this that can totally relate to that exact scenario.
Yeah.
Where it's like, man, that really matters. And how many people in the Slavic community that are listening to this podcast also had parents that had brokenness from the Soviet Union, all of that stuff that I think are going to relate. And my hope is that people hear this and realize that cyclical generational brokenness, that it can stop with me.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So, that family was a godsend to me, but obviously that broken childhood and all that just set me up for failure in a lot of different things.
Let me ask you about the Wilsons a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time you told me about them. Now, this is over a decade ago, but you had told me that you would go over to their house and you would learn little things. They wouldn't teach you. They wouldn't say, hey, here's how you love a wife, or here's how you sit at the table and don't put your elbows on it. And here's, right?
I had hundreds of meals at their dinner table.
Yeah.
And I learned manners.
But you just absorbed.
I absorbed it. We grew up together. We started growing facial hair together, right? I remember his dad taking him in the bathroom and me standing in the hallway and just watching his dad teach him how to shave.
That's awesome.
And just kind of witnessing things, and I take notes in my mind. Like when my son, when Peter Jr., right, he's 23 now, when he got old enough, like I made it a point, like, I'm going to sit down, we're going to get in the mirror, we're going to shave together.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
Now being a grown man today, and when you were a kid, you probably thought, oh, they don't know that because they don't know what I have secretly happening at home. They don't know, right? But being a dad today, Andy's dad, for sure knew exactly what was happening.
100%.
You're right there in the hallway watching them, and he's indirectly fathering you.
Yeah, 100%. They take me to church. They take me to Good Shepherd Church. It's the first time I ever took communion in my life.
Wow, wow.
Because growing up Eastern European, you have this fear of I take communion and I'm not ready, or if I'm not water baptized, or if I'm not speaking in tongues, God's going to wreak havoc on me.
Right. It'll
And
be the end of me.
they took me to church and they encouraged me, and I was just like early teens, and I took communion and I went home and I was like, man, I don't know if I should have taken it, Andy. And his parents are explaining to me about, I have a surety of salvation and God loves me. And I couldn't accept it.
Right.
They're like, yeah, dude, these Americans, they spit a good game, but surely God's not as good as they think he is.
Right.
He can't wait to get me.
Yeah.
My mom would go to church and my dad wouldn't. And mom would come back like in the 80s and the 90s, right? Everybody had a prophecy of when Jesus was coming back. And
Right.
that California is going to have this great earthquake and sink away. And
LA and San Francisco are going to the ocean.
yeah. And Jesus is coming back like tomorrow. And I
Right.
remember as a
96.
kid, my mom would come home from church and tell these stories, and I was terrified, Eddie. I was so scared that he's going to come back and I'm going to get my just desserts, which is hell. And I remember thinking to myself, like, dude, I think Jesus is going to come back around 2000. I'm just going to live like hell. And then if I die as a martyr and don't take the mark of the beast, it's my ticket to heaven. And that was my strategy. My long-term strategy was like, it's okay, dude. Hard times are going to come. Mark of the beast is going to come up, and I'm just not going to take it.
And I'm going to fight and die, and I'll still go to heaven.
And I'll still go to heaven.
But I get to live how I want to live.
Yeah.
And then because I do that one last, thief on the cross, repentant act.
Yeah.
That's everybody's plan.
Jesus, if you're listening to this, you're 25 years late, dude. Okay. But
didn't you hear the preacher, Lord? He told me you were
he
coming.
told me you're coming. And then he told us again. And then he told us again. That's right. I mean, the Son of God don't know, but apparently he did, right?
That's just silly.
But it set me up for a tough place, because as soon as I got my license, I got a group of friends that were kind of bad, and it started with drinking. Well, drinking actually started really early. My grandmother used to make, what Americans would call moonshine, right?
Right.
And she would actually bribe the secret police with it.
Prune moonshine, palinka, right?
Palinka, yeah. So what does my dad teach me how to do? Like when I'm a little kid, like I'm 11, we make a moonshine still. Like, like, oh, what are your core memories with your dad? Well, I can't remember. I remember when we took me fishing or we went camping. Like, nope. We're oxyacetyling a copper still,
Moonshine in the basement.
and problem solving how to make a copper coil for the condensation to turn back into alcohol, So me and alcohol had a real tight relationship when I was a little kid.
It wasn't seen as this big taboo, whatever.
No, it wasn't taboo. So I could drink. Like there was alcohol around the house. My parents were not alcoholics, especially my mom, but I mean, alcohol was always around. And, for some reason, they had this weird trust to allow me to experiment with it as much as I wanted to, basically, with no repercussions. So as soon as I turn 16, I get a license, I start partying, I start drinking, I start going out doing all the wrong things, and other people are partying to like just have fun, But me, I would drink and do drugs for just the opposite. I just want to forget things. Like when I would drink and do drugs, I would have a moment of peace. Like I'd love to just, go out, get high, get drunk, and just fall asleep peaceful.
And just have an escape from your life.
Just have an escape from my life, man.
It's rough, man.
But I always had a desire as a little kid. Like I remember where I was. I was at that Duke church where you got saved.
Yeah.
Portland.
Southeast 52nd, Southeast Duke. It's the Apostolic Faith Tabernacle. This is Jesus, light of the world, in letters the size of a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I became a Christian.
My parents had gotten into an argument about, my dad not taking me to church, because my argument to my mom, who was a good Christian person, was like, if dad doesn't have to go to church, I don't have to go to church.
I wonder how many people use that same excuse.
Yeah. And then my dad's excuse is like, you don't know how those Romanians tortured me in prison. I hate them. I don't want to go to the Romanian church, right? One of many excuses, and then they're all just excuses, right? So like, I'm with dad,
Yeah. Nice.
But they got an argument, so him and Spider started taking me to the Romanian church, brought me to that church. And I remember sitting in the audience and daydreaming. I wouldn't listen to the sermon at all. I remember daydreaming. I was like, dude, someday I'm going to have a wife and kids. Like I'm a little kid having this.
How old were you roughly?
I was probably 11, 12 years old.
That's like my oldest. That's
Yeah.
Franklin's age.
And that was my aspiration. Like someday I'm gonna have a wife. I'm gonna tell her I love her. And I
Hmm.
have kids. I'm gonna tell them that I love them. And it's gonna be good, dude. We're gonna be normal. You know?
The heart of a little boy
Yeah.
going, I'm going to have all the things that I didn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, long story longer, I become a teenager, I become a hellion, right? Get arrested, uh, live as crudely as I can, go out drinking all night, sleep 2, 3 hours, go into construction. I dropped out when I was 15. I never finished school. Um, and then I got into a place where, you know, I knew my life was kind of spiraling, and it's not just spiraling because I'm, using different substances and, taking shrooms and smoking pot and drinking alcohol. It's spiraling because I'm spiraling inside, dude.
Mm.
Like I'm a hurt person. Like
The drugs weren't what was spiraling you. The drugs were relief from the spiraling.
the spiraling, like terrifying dreams. Like I dream like I'd see Jesus and he's like, you've done too much and I can't forgive you.
Oh, oh.
Like just dreams where I just repeatedly, like kill my dad,
Mm.
and just fight or flight in my dreams. In my daytime, it was fight or flight. In my dreams, it was fight or flight. Like it just hurt.
There was no escape.
There's no escaping
other
it.
than the drugs and the alcohol.
Yeah. And church was always in the background somewhere because we're Romanian teenagers, right? Like you would converge at church, sometimes you'd sell drugs at church.
Right.
And just in the parking lot though, not inside, God forbid.
And it's funny because that was the mentality. Like I'm not gonna. I remember hanging out with some friends, and we weren't living Christian at all.
No.
But we had grown up as Christians, and we had to roll a joint, and we didn't have any paper. And one of them goes,
You didn't use the bar.
"No, God, no."
Okay.
Yeah, right. But it's like no. But one of them had suggested, and he goes, "Just one of the blank pages," and we were like, "No, no."
Surely this hit will kill us.
Yeah, and it's so wild to see like the misunderstanding of the gospel
Yeah.
that we had, but at the same time there was this fear and this reverence that also existed because we were afraid of being punished and killed by God.
Yeah. Well, our parents are Pentecostals from Romania, but they're like first generation Pentecostal.
Right.
And before that, everyone was Orthodox. So everything was, rules, punishment, making amends,
Yeah. And it's funny, we just traded one set of rules for another.
For another set of rules, right?
Because we were never allowed to have crosses in the church or candles because the Orthodox had that.
Yeah.
You can't have candles in the church or crosses. That just isn't Orthodox.
God forbid you go a beard. Might I say, I'm pretty sure Jesus had a beard. Okay.
No, it's true. It's some of the churches that still haven't progressed from the 70s. They would never accept you there because you have a beard.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Christians don't have a beard. But yeah, it's just wild the way you've grown up.
And meanwhile, I have a very good excuse. It's because I'm ugly.
If I could grow one for my whole face.
Yeah. Already on it. Back's covered. So I had this desire, like deep down in my heart, of normality,
Right.
of peace. Like what I desired most was peace and normality. And so I got to a point where my life was so chaos, out of control. I'd gotten arrested. I talked to my sister who lived in California, and I live in Oregon at this point. And I really had a desire to just get out of that, Something happened before that too. Like I was 18 at Philadelphia Church in Portland back at that time. Every year we had this huge shindig of a baptism. If you're not Romanian, that you don't understand. Like we don't get baptized after service. Like we go out to the park as a community. There's 1,000 people barbecuing. You give your testimony and the whole service is a baptismal service because
that's the whole service.
The whole service.
Like people fly in from out of town.
Families
for
from
your
out of town.
baptism.
When I think about like I see American youth pastors talking about, oh, we baptized 15 kids at camp. Dude, if a Romanian parent found out their kid got baptized and they weren't there with their parents and their aunts and uncles and everybody else, it would be the most offensive thing in the world.
Yeah.
They're not joyous that their kid got baptized. They're like, we didn't even make food. We didn't even get together. This is a monument. This is huge,
Yeah.
So
and I got to say, like, obviously, baptism in water doesn't mean that act makes you saved, right?
Yeah.
It's just a public testimony of what God did in your life. So it can become a religious thing, but I will say this. I love the way that we do it because we do celebrate the fact that it is a public testimony
Yeah.
of your life being transformed, of
Yeah.
you having this experience. And then the whole community comes together to say, hey, not only do we receive your testimony, but we're also going to, hold you accountable, not in the sense of like, you'd better act right,
Yeah.
but like, hey, like we love you. We're aware of you. We're all completely, excited for you. And if we see you struggling, you have a whole community of people that are going to come around you. At least
Yeah.
that's a healthy
Yeah.
model. Yeah. And I do love that.
Yeah.
We've done some baptisms together.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a really good friend goal. Like,
Yeah.
what you and your friend do? Oh, we went out, went for a hike. Like, dude, me and Eddie baptized kids together.
That's pretty high up there,
Not
man.
kids, but anyone younger than 40 is kid to me.
Yeah.
But so I'm 18, I'm in Portland, right? And every year there's the baptism, and Romanian parents really went sideways on this. Like, if you get baptized, I'll buy you a brand new car.
We all knew people.
We all knew people. It's like, dude, you got an M3. How did that happen? It's like, I got baptized, brother.
Yeah.
But
that did happen. My buddy Lou, his dad, and this is back when $100 meant something.
yeah.
His dad's like, if you get baptized, I'll give you $100. And he told us about it, and we're like, so did you do it? We're like, no.
Of course I did. But there was also that theory that like Romanians would tell you this, like, okay, God forgives you, dude, but after you get water baptized,
Right.
you have to pay for all your sins you commit after that.
Right? Jesus forgave everything up till then. So
water
any
baptism.
sin after water baptism is not forgiven because Jesus can't be crucified twice.
Yeah.
And they'll use that verse out of context in Hebrews. And you live in horrible fear.
Yeah. Terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got water baptized and I sinned.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I'm going to hell
That's
now.
it. It's over.
Right? And before anyone who's not Romanian listens to this, like, dude, it was illegal to have a Bible. Right? They smuggled Bibles into Romania. So before you judge their theology, like, it was hearsay
Yeah.
theology. It was secondhand information, right?
A lot of times it ended up being that. And the truth is, every church has its own exaggerations that it struggles with, and every
Yeah.
community and every people. And this is just our story. I'm not, for better or worse, it's not, necessarily, what like, the pastors would tell you, but it's what culturally ended up happening a lot of times. And regrettably, it's just the truth of it.
Yeah. So this baptism's coming up. It's 1998. There's already 80 people signed up for it. And
And this is still in Portland.
this is still in Portland. I'm still a teenager, this buddy of mine comes up to me, and he always had prayer meetings at his house, and he'd have prophetic words sometimes, and his mom and his grandma would also kind of flow in that same prophetic gifting,
Older than you or like your age?
my age.
Oh, cool.
And he has this crazy prophetic word while we're on a drive somewhere. He goes, Peter, basically, thus says the Lord,
Mhm.
if you become a Christian and commit your life to me, I'll save your dad.
Wow.
So now
That's heavy.
that's heavy, right?
That's heavy. What do you do? I don't know if it works that way,
Well, let me tell you, it didn't. at first, it didn't.
Yeah, no, but it's crazy. Like, you're 18, you're struggling with your faith, and then somebody drops something that heavy on you, where it's
Yeah.
like your dad's salvation is now your responsibility.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way at
It
all.
doesn't work that way at all, right?
but
Jesus reveals to who Jesus reveals.
Yeah. And who accepts him, chooses or doesn't.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, man, the weight of that in the midst of that brokenness, oof.
Yeah. So I get baptized, right? It's this big joyous thing, right? Like I'm in it, but I'm on the outskirts. Like, like all these people getting baptized and they're good people, but I'm just kind of here, right? I'm the redheaded stepchild of the group of 90 people getting, sorry, Adi, getting water baptized. And the next day, my mom comes to me with some terrible news that my dad had done something terrible again.
But after baptism in water, from that prophetic word that you had, you sat there and you were like, okay, I did my end. Now it's God's turn.
Yeah.
And this is the first thing that happens.
And couple that with this Romanian mentality that after you get water baptized and you sin, it's
Right.
on you, dude.
Right.
So I'm horribly offended by the news. So that very night, like it's the next day after I'm water baptized, I'm out with my old group of friends. And where were we at? We're at a bar. I'm getting drunk, and that spiraled into a lot of things, right? Getting arrested, stuff like that. And then I had this epiphany that I need to get cleaned up. But So I called my sister in California. I was like, hey, I was gonna be honest with you. Can I just move in with you and your husband and kids just to change my environment? You know, let me just get out of Oregon and go to California. And before I moved, I had some good friends over there, and they had a sister. And of course, I always kind of liked their sister, but she didn't want anything to do with me. But she had a friend named Dominica that she grew up with in California.
Nice.
And this is in Oregon, keep in mind. So my friends are like, dude, my sister's friend's coming up, dude. You should talk to her. You know, I'm 17 at that point,
Right.
and she's 15.
Mhm.
Right, we're kids.
Yeah,
And
17 and 15.
We're kids.
I mean, you're kids, yeah.
Right? She comes up to Portland, and of course I'm loaded like the whole time. But we hung out, and I remembered. I was like, yeah, I kind of like her, you know. And she sent me a picture. You know, back in the day, you used to go to Owens Mills and take glamour shots of yourself. She
Yeah.
sent me a picture, and
So when Peter says send him a picture, she didn't text him a picture.
text messaging didn't exist.
Yeah. she didn't send you like an Instagram, a DM.
No, she put it in an envelope, licked it, put a stamp on it, and put it in the mail.
Yeah.
And she wrote like a little, I can't remember what it said on the back. And I was like, oh, dude, this girl digs me.
Uh-huh.
And it was hard.
That's what girls would do. They
That's what
would
girls would do.
send you an actual physical photo so you could look at her and think about her.
Yeah. Wallet size.
Yeah.
Put it in your wallet, right?
Yep.
It was a terrible, like, and the pictures were like always out of focus. Like there was that weird Sears photography trick where
Yes.
everything was kind of like
A little bit fuzzy or whatever.
fuzzy, right? There's like a weird backdrop in the background. It's like chartreuse.
That's
you know?
funny, dude. I totally forgot about that, Pete.
Yeah.
But yeah, you used to carry. We used to carry a picture of a girl in your wallet.
Yeah,
and be like,
your girl.
yeah. And then you'd show people. You're just like, oh, dude, check this out. This is,
Yeah.
this is the girl I'm talking to. And they'd be like, wow.
So, so I moved to California, right? I moved to California. Like I'm going to try to bring this back in, reel it back in.
There you go. There you go.
So I moved to California, and I was like, dude, I'm in California. I'm in a new place. Like, surely I can get my life in order.
Oh, get a
You know,
fresh start.
You know, because in Orange County, there's no drugs or alcohol, right?
Right.
Obviously, right?
For our listeners, something else that's important for you to understand: the world wasn't as connected as it is today with the internet and social media and everything else.
No.
So if you moved to a different town, you could get almost a completely fresh start. Nobody knew about,
No one knew you, dude. I started going to Priano's church and the different Riverside churches and stuff like that. Dude, I was fresh meat on the hook.
Yeah.
Like girls were chomping at the bit, right? I had a really cool MR2, a 2-seater, had
You had an
rims,
MR2?
rims on it, H&R springs, had an exhaust on it, and I just roll, T-tops off,
Yeah.
roll up to the church,
That's
you
it.
know? I'm like, what's up, ladies, you know? And right? And it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Okay, when you grow up damaged, you turn out two ways.
Yeah.
You grow up super sheltered and like just like a little reclusive and quiet, or you turn into like an egomaniac, overly confident jerk.
Yeah.
And that's what I turned into, right?
You weren't the reclusive. That's
I
for
wasn't
sure.
reclusive. I was loud and boastfully like confident.
Right.
Like, like I'd walk in the room and like, I'm the best in this room. Right. But inside I was still like this hurt kid. Right.
Is this
Like,
compensating for the hurt?
well, in my justification, it was a product of my environment. Right. I
Right.
would go to school, I'd get picked on, but I was always this size since I was 14, right? So I'd go to school and I'd get picked on, and then I would beat kids up, but I was so emotionally damaged, I would cry while I would beat up other kids. They'd make fun of me, and then I'm like, why are you making fun of me? And just punching the kids, tears coming down my face, right?
Didn't you feed some kid pine cones?
Okay, it was just a couple times, but I would also punch them, also get them in a headlock, and also jam acorns and different things into their mouth with my thumb and just jam it into their mouth and cry. You imagine the sight of the other kids on the playground. It's like,
terrifying.
dude, that fat kid just went berserk. Put that other kid, the other kid just made fun of his shoes, right? Because I'd wear Velcro shoes to junior high, right? And it's like, dude, what? This quiet fat kid just exploded and put that kid in the headlock, and he was shoving acorns and pine cones into his mouth, while crying. Oh man, I'm so glad that was a long time ago. So I moved to California.
So you had an MR2.
So I had an MR2, and I was sitting at the
T-top.
T-top, fall into the right, same old pattern, you know?
Right.
It was like, dude, Peter, what are you doing at church? Like, as a Romanian, when you grow up in a culture within a culture, you're a loser, okay? So in the 80s and 90s, you'd go to school, you'd be a loser foreigner, right?
Right.
And then you would go to this magical place called church.
Right.
You would, if you were me, you learned nothing about God except for he wants to kill you. And then that's where you would meet other loser kids like yourself.
Yeah.
There's someone listening to this right now. So I wasn't a loser. It's like, dude, you were weird. Okay. You went home and had cabbage.
Yeah.
Your friends went home and had chicken and stovetop. You were eating cabbage.
You just didn't know that you were
You didn't
weird.
know that you were weird.
You
So
were weird.
all the youth would converge around the church, even if you weren't a Christian, because you were amongst other kids that looked like you.
They were the only other kids that looked like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you would eat baby onion raw.
Yeah.
And the other kids would be like, oh, that's great. Or you would
What
eat
do you eat for
pork
lunch
belly.
today? It's like, dude, I'm just slicing up some of these tomatoes and I'm dipping them in salt and eating them.
Yeah. That was
Like, weirdo, I got a fruit roll up.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, you would see the other kids with like fruit roll-ups or those garbage Lunchables, but it was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's so amazing.
What does that processed food taste like?
Yeah,
you know,
right.
and we were living the dream now. Like American people now is like trying to eat like I grew up eating.
Yeah.
You know,
I watched the video of like a Slavic dad eating breakfast, which
Yeah.
is our usual breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, it's just peppers.
yeah.
You know, like bell peppers, just kind of sliced up like red ones with a little bit of salt on it, some cheese,
With some
tomatoes,
flonina.
cucumbers, some pork belly, right?
Pork belly, yeah.
Yeah, and I went into the comments, you know, and if somebody was like, dude, this guy's just eating the ingredients for a meal.
They're mixing together in my stomach.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But so okay, I'm in this new culture now in California, right? No one really knows who I was. I get right in the same old patterns I used to, but somewhere in like my stupor of the way I was living, I remembered this girl named Dominica. When I was in Portland. She came up to visit me, and I realize now I'm 18, right? I realize, dude, I'm in Orange County. Riverside's just down the 91, and she lives there.
Do you still have that photo?
Yeah, of course I did. Right? Right? Any love I received, I accepted at that age, especially from food, dude.
It's just food, Peter. It's not love.
You know, it was, dude. Okay. It's just tears running down my fat cheeks eating Debbie snacks. But I remember I remember even back then I had this idea, right? Like every now and then I'd have these God-inspired moments of clarity because he was with me through
Right,
that, you
right.
know? I forget this is a Christian podcast, right? Got Christ-centered, Peter. I remember
Well, it's just an honest one.
it was an honest one, yeah. I remember being in this stupor and I just hung out with these, we called them Mexican girls because they were like cholas, but they were these Mexican girls. And
But they were Romanian?
they're Romanians,
Oh,
but I mean, they had
but they adopted like the
hoop
Chico
earrings,
culture.
bangs,
Oh, wow.
everything. I mean, just you know,
Yeah.
Romexicans, right? That was a thing in Riverside.
The Chicana culture.
And I remember I was in a parking lot at a Kmart getting drunk with one of my buddies over there, and it was super classy, right? We're in a Honda Prelude getting drunk in a Kmart parking lot, and I remember
Bro,
talking
when's
to
the
this-
last time you saw a Prelude?
Yeah, it had four-wheel steering, dude. It was a cool car. I remember sitting in this parking lot and I was telling them my dilemma. I was like, dude, I got these two girls that they're bad, dude. They'll do whatever I want them to do. And then I was like, dude, there's this girl, Dominica, and she's the oldest of 7 kids, and she's a Sunday school teacher, and she's really good. She's a good girl.
So you're talking to these two girls that were not
Yeah.
excellent
And I'm explaining this to my friend drinking in a parking lot.
and telling them about those two girls and then also this saint of a woman.
The saint of a woman that I clearly don't deserve. And I'm weighing out the differences. Like, dude, if I hang out with these girls, I could party with them. I could do whatever disgusting things I want to do. But this other girl, she would be a great wife. She would be a great mom. Like, she's good. She would make me a better person. Like, these are crazy thoughts for an 18-year-old to have.
Yeah.
You know? So, long story short, there's a group of us that go out, and Dominica gets invited to it.
Just like Sunday after church when we were all
Something
hanging
like
out. Yeah.
that. Yeah. We went to an Olive Garden, and you got to keep in mind, my wife is like this super sheltered, oldest of 7 kids, never did anything wrong. You know, came to America when she was 9. Great Christian parents. Like, I couldn't wait to get married to call her mom. Like, I love her to pieces. Right?
To call Domini's mom.
Yeah, I love her to pieces. Like, she's amazing. Like, people complain about their mother-in-laws, like, sucks to suck, dude. My mother-in-law is fantastic.
Your mother-in-law's a saint.
She is.
I know her. She's an amazing woman.
Like, she'll come over and she'll cook me every one of my favorite meals. You know, who says food is love, Eddie? I beg to differ. Right? It's a love language in its own.
This man's got a case study.
Yeah, right. I got a case study in cholesterol to prove it. But diabetes that. But so I go on this date with this girl, and she's so innocent, she doesn't realize that I'm just drunk. Like, I'm just blasted, right?
She's never been around.
She's never been around it, you know? Like, literally, after we got married, it's like, I was talking to her about that date. She goes, "You were drunk?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, I remember hanging out with one of my buddies before the date, and then I was like, he's like, "Hey, you want a drink?" He's like, "No, man. I'm going out on this date with Dominica." And then he goes, "Dace mi les beau singur." And it's like,
that was it?
Yeah, it was like, it's a Romanian thing. That guy died of cirrhosis, by the way.
Oh. But he said to you, "What, you're going to let me drink alone?"
You're going to let me drink alone? And that was like a cultural thing. It's like, no, I won't let you drink alone. Right? So I get loaded and drive over there and have this date with her. And coming from this hurt background, like, I insanely just immediately fall in love with this girl. Like, I am enamored with her. Right? Like, she's pretty, she's skinny, she's got long hair. Like, not like she was funny or she had a good personality, right? Like, my checklist, like, you know, now you talk to a 30-year-old looking for a husband or wife, like, they gotta make 6 foot tall, 6 figures. I was like, she had long hair.
She looked like a woman.
She looked like she smelled good.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that was better, right? Like, there was no expectations, right? I could care less if she had a job or she went to college or anything like that.
Right.
And she was smart too, man. But so I start dating her, and then Christianity is always around, but again, I'm always believing I'm going to hell. So I'm about to go to Portland, and I was talking to that girl upstairs about her grandma last night. That's when that transpired.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Yesterday we were hanging out for 4th of July, and Pete was talking to a friend of ours about her grandmother, who was a really well-known prayer warrior.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm dating Dominica for like a week. I'm in the shower, and dude, I now look at it, it was the Lord. But I have this, dude, while I'm shampooing my hair, I have this vision that I'm going to marry this girl, and this is God behind it.
That's wild.
And keep in mind,
This wasn't after a 10-day fast of pursuing the Lord. It was just God in his grace.
This is him meeting you where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he met me where I was at, dude. And I was like, dude, I had a trip to go back and visit Portland. And I had this vision in the shower that I was going to go to Portland, and I was going to meet a prophet, and they're going to tell me that my relationship with Dominica is from God.
Huh.
Dude, I go to Portland, I go to a prayer meeting, and this lady reads my mail without being provoked, without knowing the background.
You didn't go down and say, "Hey, could you pray for me? I'm waiting for a sign." You just showed up as one of the people at the prayer meeting that happens weekly.
She has this word for me, and it becomes this truth that I hold on to with both hands. Domi's 17. I'm 16. I'm 17. I have a drinking problem. I'm doing drugs on the side of the head. And I go to this girl, and I was like, "Hey, we're going to get married." She's like, she laughs at me. She laughs at me. And
You told her that?
oh, yeah.
You were 17, she was 16, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Hey,
Yeah.
if the Lord said you got to do it now."
In case young men are listening to this and it's like, "Dude, I can't get a girlfriend." It's like, dude, you just need confidence. Like, I went up to her, and I was just like, "Hey, you know, we're going to get married." And she thought I was nuts, but look, in lieu of like a job and a career and money and stability, girls are suckers for confidence. You could be butt ugly and have confidence, and you could score yourself a pretty good girl, dude.
That's honestly the advice my dad gave me when I was 15. Nothing more attractive for a woman in a man than confidence.
And confidence.
Yeah. Now, cockiness is repulsive. Like, if you're if you're acting like you're something that you're not, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the super cocky guys. But if you're genuinely confident, which confidence, where would you say confidence comes from, Pete? What makes a man confident?
Ignorance. The lack of realization of what you actually are.
No, but I mean, in a Christian man's heart, like what makes you and I confident about all of the crazy, like, dude, the crazy things that you do when you go to Africa and you're building things from scratch and you know, jumping in with both feet into ministry, even though you're like, dude, I'm not qualified for this,
Yeah.
you know, and feeling like that one story you told me where you're like, God, when are you going to send the real missionaries?
Yeah.
You know, like what makes you, as you're in the mission,
Yeah.
you know, what makes us as Christian men confident? Like, what would you say?
It's gonna sound overly simplistic, but I know that there's nothing that God can't do.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I'm confident about that.
yeah,
Like, hey, I'm gonna do this thing, and I think my lack of knowledge of other things, like I just said earlier, I dropped out when I was 15. So it's like I don't know a lot of things, but I know God's true.
yeah,
I know He'll be with me. I know He won't allow me to be made ashamed of. I
Yeah.
know He'll take my place, right?
yeah.
That He loves me. So out of that comes confidence.
Yeah, because you're confident not in yourself, but in the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's so wild because it's like, man, like the more that I get to know God, the more that I understand myself,
Yeah.
and the more that I understand how God made me, the more confident I am in walking with Him because I know that He designed me to couple together in relationship with Him to fulfill the calls, you know, that He has on my life and being a husband and a dad and everything else. And it doesn't come from knowing everything, because everything that we start to do, you don't know what it's like until you do it,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, but you're going to go into it confident because I know that God's going to be with me.
Yeah. Also, it comes from like what I'm explaining to you right now and who I am today. That generations of hurt ended with me.
Yeah.
That my sons don't know what I know. That I
Right.
became a bridge from disbelief to belief.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you don't know what God did for me.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that statement encompasses it.
Yeah.
When it's like, well, how can you do, you don't understand.
Yeah. You don't understand who I serve
Yeah.
and how well I know him.
Yeah.
When I say father, I don't say father because the Bible says he's my heavenly father. I say it because he's my father.
Yeah.
And he pulled me from the miry clay, set my feet on the rock, gave me everything I've ever desired.
Right.
And he did it all while me not deserving a single bit of it.
100%.
And if he asked me to go to this country and risk my life and I die in service of him, I'll gladly do so and celebrate doing it that way. Why? Because I know who he is.
Yeah.
I know what he's capable of because I've seen it my whole Christian journey, dude.
Yeah.
From zero to here.
It
So
came
if
with
he-
cost.
So when he tells me to do something, yes, sir.
Yeah.
You know, that's where confidence comes from, dude. You
Yeah,
know?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's from the journey that you have to go through and the
Yeah.
suffering and the, dude, I trusted God and I risked and he came through. And this is why testimonies are so powerful.
Yeah.
Because it gives us the strength to overcome.
Yeah. So this girl thinks I'm crazy. I'm telling her I'm going to marry her. We court just long enough for her to become 18 and I'm 20. We get married. Everyone's saying, dude, you're just dumb kids. You don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, nah, dude. I'm an adult. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm 20 years old, you know? Didn't you see my MR2 parked outside? Right? So,
And Domini said yes.
of course she said yes. Did you see pictures of me when I was 18? Of course she said yes, right? I was a hunk.
Did you see that MR2?
Did you see that?
She had
Did
no
you see
choice.
those sweet eagle rims, dude?
She didn't have a choice.
She had no choice in this matter, dude. But so I wooed this girl into marrying me, and you know, as a kid, I'm thinking I'm gonna get married, everything's gonna be good, and it's gonna make my life good, right?
So you assume marriage is going to change everything.
Oh yeah, dude, of course, right? Because that's what I thought when I was a little kid. I would get married and everything be great.
So many people think exactly that still.
Yeah, and all I ended up doing is I grabbed an innocent bystander and I drug him into my misery.
Mm.
I was like, hey, I'm pretty miserable.
Yeah.
I'm going to marry you and you're not going to drag me up with you. I'm going to drag you down with me.
I'd like some company here in my
Yeah.
misery.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm still going to drink and come home. And now you can make dinner for me when I come home when I'm drunk,
Mm.
you know? So I take this girl from this like sheltered environment and I dupe her into marrying me, right?
It's funny because I remember asking your wife, I was like, how did you say yes to Pete? And she goes, it's so funny. Like she just steps so out of character. She's like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I was just blind. I have no idea.
Yeah. In hindsight, God was behind it.
Yeah.
He was putting two people together, and
Had bigger plans.
he had bigger plans, dude. So we have these plans of like getting married, right? We're gonna get married, and we're gonna travel, right? Because when you're a dumb kid, you forget that traveling takes money.
What?
Yeah. So I'm 20 years old. We buy a house in Corona. I have a mortgage. I have a wife, right?
20 years old, have a house owned in Southern
I
California.
have a brand new truck. I'm 20. My wife's 18.
What were you doing work-wise?
I was installing dishwashers and garbage disposal for Best Buy.
Mm.
I found a job like a week before I got married because people were like, dude, you're getting married, you need a better job. I was doing finished carpentry before that. And I found this ad about making $300 a day. And I was like, psh, I could go for the interviews. Like, do you know how to put on a dishwasher? I grew up Romanian, dude. We never use a dishwasher. That's for Americans, dude. That doesn't really clean your dishes, right? And I was like, of course. And I went on my first install and I was sitting there reading a manual. But surely enough, I'm 20 and I'm making $300 a day,
That's the immigrant way. Say yes and then figure it out afterwards.
It's called faking it till you're making it.
Yeah.
But so we have these plans of like waiting a few years to get pregnant and start our little family, and then 3 months go by, and guess what? What kind of family planning do you think we were doing at 18
Yeah.
and 20, right? Yeah. So Domini's thinking she might be pregnant. I'm driving around the greater Los Angeles area doing installs, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go to work. You take a pregnancy test and call me at work and tell me if you're pregnant.
You didn't sit with her and wait. You're just like, all right, I'll see you later. Call me. Let me know.
What part of this testimony up until this point that led you to think that that would be me? Right, dude? I was just broken. She calls me at work and I'm driving around. I go, hey, did you take a pregnancy test? And she goes, yeah, I'm not pregnant. And I just proceed on like this great relief of like, thank God.
Oh, no.
Thank God you're not pregnant. You would have ruined everything.
No.
We wouldn't have had no money. We couldn't have accomplished any of our plans. We couldn't have done anything cool because you would be pregnant.
Yeah,
And I hear,
like you didn't participate in the process or something.
am I the one pregnant, Eddie? So I hear my poor 18-year-old wife just on the other end of the phone, right? And I was like, what are you crying about? She goes, I am pregnant.
Oh,
I was going to surprise you when you got home, you jerk. So,
oops.
yeah, welcome in the world, Peter Jr., right? So this doesn't get any better. Like my neighbor is this cool guy I get along with. I would park my truck in the driveway when I get off of work, and I'd work 6 days a week. My wife would try to encourage me to go to church, and I would berate her because I'm working 6 days a
Right.
week. How dare you ask me to give up my one day? I'm killing myself for you, Dominica.
For you, yeah.
How dare you ask me to go to church on Sunday? That's my one day off to get on my banshee and go to the dunes and go to the racetrack and go ride quads with my friends. Don't I deserve one day off to enjoy myself?
Yeah, and that's the argument people make.
That's the argument people make. So I'd come home. It's just like the devil, dude. I'd pull up to my driveway. My neighbor would open his garage, right? Tony. And I'd see the garage open and he had a table in there and dominoes set up every day, dude. And he's like, Pete, come over here. And I just crossed the grass median between our houses. He's directly next door to me. And I'd go to his house and then just gone, obliterated, just getting drunk, playing dominoes until midnight. My 18-year-old wife at home, pregnant, ends up having a baby. I've completely abandoned my duty as a father. As much as I hated my dad, guess what I'm doing?
Becoming
my dad, right? The biggest, most offensive thing my mom used to tell me, like I hated my dad. And when I was a little kid, my sisters and my mom, when I was bad, you know what they tell me? You're just like your dad.
Oh,
So I remember, Eddie, I would go out, I would drink, and my wife would be sleeping with baby Peter in our bed. And I remember I'd crawl in the bed and I would try to set up systems so where I wouldn't, in a drunken stupor, roll over for him and smother him in his
Mm.
sleep, you know? Because I knew, like, I'm not in control of my body. I'm so wasted, you know?
You're afraid, yeah.
I'm afraid, dude. And then, so obviously everything's going peachy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's going terrible. And then I get this harebrained idea that we're going to move to Portland, you know, California.
Leave California, go to Oregon.
And I'm going to do what my mom and dad do. I'm going to open a Baba house. So
Now,
Baba,
you lived in Oregon for a long time until you got about 17. Then you left to SoCal,
Yeah.
right? And then you lived there until what age?
like 21, 22.
And then, so year 2 into marriage, 1, 2, something like that.
He
You're
was a
like,
baby.
gotcha. You're like, let's go back to Portland,
Yeah.
and we're gonna open up a residential care
A
facility.
Baba house.
Yeah, a Baba house, as we would call
So
them.
we
for the elderly.
sell our house. You know, I'm 21. I sell my first house. You know, my wife's 19. We have a kid.
Right.
Right. I got a whole family that I'm responsible of. And then we moved to Portland, buy another house. Right. And it's like, dude, I think about like,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know.
I'm so sorry. It's like kids nowadays, like living at home and they're like 35. It's like, dude, when I was your age, my kids were graduating high school. you know, anyways,
You were 21 going on 40.
I was 40, right? My liver was going on 70. So we moved to Oregon, and I'm just not getting any better. Like, we're looking for a house to get Bobby. Money's tight. My wife is just a saint in the background, being the best she knew to be, and I'm just being a monster, you know? I could say by God's grace, I never beat my wife or ever cheated on her, but I was absent and I was mean and I was bad with my temper, right? Punching holes through walls, throwing fits, right? I think about it now. I was like, dude, I went from all that trauma right into marriage, right into a family, right into a mortgage. And all I did is never took care of any of my own personal problems.
Yeah.
I just took all my hurt as a childhood and I just shoved it deep down in my stomach.
Yeah.
I put some, you know, a violent life on top of it.
Right.
And then I just acted out of necessity.
The thing that I really hope our listeners take, one of the many things that I really hope that they take away from this is, it's not your fault that you went through all of that. You know what I mean? As a kid,
Yeah.
it's not your fault, but the only way forward is through. You can't just move on from it.
Yeah.
You can't just ignore it and then think that, well, you know, that was in the past. So now you have to go through dealing with the issues and letting God deal with them, or else they won't get resolved and they will manifest somewhere else.
Yeah.
You can push that stuff way down. It'll still pop its ugly head up somewhere.
Yeah. Like I'd be a pretty cool dude and you'd push me just a little bit and I'd snap. Just snap, uncontrollably, unreasonably snap, you know?
Start looking for pine cones to shove. Sorry.
Where's there a fir tree around here? I need some ammo. But they could have gone the other way. If I wasn't a big kid, I would have just been picked on all the time.
Right.
You know? But since I was a big kid, I became a bully. But
we laugh so we don't cry. It's a coping mechanism,
it
right?
really is.
Yeah.
Dude. I was just broken. So now I'm in Oregon. Peter turns 1 there. I'm 22 years old at this point, right? We're just unhappily ever after, right? My wife's just a saint. She's sticking through it with me. And I have this buddy I reconnected with, Travis, that I grew up with in Oregon, you know? And he was one friend that I've kept to this day. Like, he just texted me yesterday, happy 4th of July.
No
I love
way.
you
That's
know?
awesome.
And I've kept in touch with him all these years. I'm 45 now from when I was a teenager, like 15, 16, I started hanging out with Travis.
That's wild.
So Travis has always been the good kid with the bad kids. I was the bad kid and he was the good kid, you know? And Travis starts hanging out with me again because I moved back to Oregon. And Travis has got this dad. We all called him Bub. He was an ex-Vietnam veteran, ended up dying of cancer not that many years ago from Agent Orange poisoning. He had a battle with cancer because of it. But I remember my marriage was on the rocks. I'm like 22 years old. And this dude, I still had shame because I was a Romanian, so I wouldn't drink around him. But I dropped Travis off after a night of, you know, debauchery And his dad had invited me in. And he had been divorced, and he had been an alcoholic, and he had been someone who was raised in a rough house.
Hmm.
But he also was a man who accepted Jesus as a Lord and Savior.
This is Bub?
Yeah, this is Bub, right? Um, God, I wish he would have known how much he meant to me.
Hmm.
You know, I wish I would have got to tell him how much he meant to me before he died.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's wild to think
yeah,
about, man, honestly. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's just like, man, the opportunities that you have, you know, in the moments that you have them, because you think that they'll go on and on, you know? But
they
it's just
don't.
like, man, I want to seize that opportunity and tell, you know, people in my life, like, hey, you matter to me. It's a term that I heard recently where it goes, I'd like to bring flowers to people before they die,
Yeah,
you know? Yeah.
yeah,
It's a good thought.
yeah. But he would invite me into his house. He would allow me to drink on his living room couch,
Hmm.
and he'd sit and counsel me, like, Peter, you got a bad temper. You're not a good man, and you're doing exactly what I did. You're letting your mouth push your wife away, and you're gonna lose your family.
Oof. How valuable it is that he said that to you, man.
He
Phew.
just calls me out, dude. And this is not once or twice. This is on a regular basis. I just go sit on this man's couch, and he would just tell me about not stories out of the Bible, but just like, hey, I'm a Christian, and this is what I was, and this is who I am today, and these are my biggest regrets.
Hmm.
And he would sit there and he would counsel me. And I was like, it was like a culmination of a storm of all the things that I've created around me. Unbeknownst to me, my wife is about ready to pack it in. She's about ready to take my son and leave me.
Hmm.
And she had every right to. She had every right to. And something clicks in me. And this thing that I've wanted since I was a little boy, a family, is I'm trying to hold it in my hands and it's sifting through my fingers, you know? And I was like, dude, I just got to get right with God.
Hmm.
I got to get right with God, dude. Dominica is so happy that my inclination is now to start getting right with Jesus that she's down for anything.
Hmm.
So I start going with my American friends to a Baptist church, Lifegate Baptist in Portland, Oregon. And it is boring. Everybody's 65, 70.
Let me ask you a question, Pete, about the Vietnam vet, about Bub. The he didn't have every last bit of his life figured out, did he?
100% not.
He had brokenness in his own life as well.
Yeah.
Because here's why I ask: how valuable is it to have a man that'll just say, "Hey, I see through the baloney, and I'm going to call you out for what it is. Like I'm
Yeah.
just going to put a flashlight right on the hurt, right on the wound, but I'm going to say, hey, because I love you, like I'll tell you the truth, right? Like you were
Yeah.
telling me earlier today
Yeah.
about another friend where it's like, man, what did you say to me?
If you love somebody, you love them enough to tell them the truth.
Yeah, even if it might make him upset or angry,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean that Bub had his entire life figured out, but
No,
he
yeah.
could see one thing clear, amongst others, and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna call this out, and you might go into a fit of rage or whatever, but he loved you enough to tell you the truth."
Yeah.
And it's like, man, as men, we need that from other men to be like, "Hey, man, I love you enough to tell you this is not okay."
Yeah. Also, what we were talking about, what breeds boldness and confidence? John grew up like I did, Bub.
Mm.
Christ was revealed to him. He was set free. He had peace.
Yeah,
He knew what Jesus did for him. He saw that pattern in me, and he loved me enough to be honest with me. He
yeah,
loved me enough to, I know this is going to hurt, but I don't want to see you go to hell.
right,
I don't want to see your wife leave you. I don't want your son to grow up without a father.
right, right,
And because I love you, I'm going to call you out on all your sinful ways. And I'm not only going to call you out, but I'm going to give you the answer.
right,
And it's going to be simply receive Christ and give him all of your brokenness, give him all your shame,
right,
give him all your resentments. And sounds too good to be true.
right.
But if you just followed the
Yeah,
Jesus guy, if you actually just finally give him all the crap that you hold on to.
right,
Why was I holding on to it, dude? Why did I choose not to accept freedom?
right,
It's because it's the only thing I knew. if I forgive my dad, if I forgive everybody who's wronged me, who's going to hold those people accountable?
And that's always the fear of letting go.
Who's going
Yeah.
to hold them to task for how they hurt me?
Yeah. If I move on, then why would God hang on to it?
Yeah.
And if I'm still hurt and I hang on to the hurt, then God's still got to pay that debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we feel like.
That's
But
how we feel like.
It's not true at all.
Like, hey, dude, you're asking me what seemingly seems simple, right? Let go of your hurt. But it's all I have is hurt.
Right.
It's like you're asking me to let go of the only thing I have.
Yeah.
The only thing I identify with. My only thing that makes me me is
Yeah.
this beat up individual, you know?
And it's like, I want to move out of this, but I want to move out of this in my way. I want those people held account. I want healing here, and then I'll move on. And it's like, you can't ask God to heal you and at the same time also say, Lord, here's how I want you to heal me.
Yeah. And then you're giving me this line that he wants me. I don't want me. My wife doesn't want me. Society doesn't want me.
I don't believe you.
My parents don't want me.
Yeah.
My mom used to go to my wife. You know what my mom would say to my wife? Hey, he's just like his father. You should leave him. What does that do for my mentality, for my brain? It doesn't matter that she was 100% correct, Eddie. It mattered that it hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And dude, she had every right to. So two things start happening simultaneously. My wife's thinking about calling it in and just being done with me. Bub is ministering to me and planting a seed of repentance in my heart.
So push and pull factors, right? Yeah.
These two things are happening without communicating to each other.
That's so the Lord's hand all over it, man. He's so good.
He was so good, dude. So I decided to start going to church, and I didn't know how to Jesus. Okay? I didn't know how to do it. I was like, I'm just going to go to every service. I'm just going to read a book of the Bible a day. But I remember Eddie sitting and thinking, it's like, dude, I'm supposed to love you, but I don't feel like it. I feel like a fraud. Jesus, I'm talking to you right now. I feel nothing.
Right?
You know, everyone says they love you. I want to say I love you, but the emotion of I love you isn't there.
Right.
You know?
And you don't want to be dishonest.
I don't want to be dishonest, you know? So I have these three great older sisters in the background. They're always been solid Christian ladies. They've always been Pentecostals, right? Like we have a Pentecostal pedigree from my grandmother on my mom's side.
Right.
You know? My grandfather used to go on mission trips to other parts of Romania. My grandma had underground prayer meetings in her house,
Right.
you know, against communist rule, and they keep inviting me to prayer meetings. You know, I'm trying to fake it. I'm trying to fake Christianity, white knuckling Christianity. You know,
It worked at the washer and dryer installation. It worked in other places in your life. I'm going to fake it till I make it.
I'm trying, you know, like, I love you, Lord. You know? But for me, it was nothing new because I was a fraud at everything else in my life, you know. I was a fraud. I lied about everything, right? But so my sisters invite me to this prayer meeting. Now you got to understand, growing up as a Romanian, right? Eastern Bloc, you know, European person, if you're a Pocahit, if you're a Pentecostal, like receiving the baptism of the Holy Spirit is like the pinnacle.
Right.
Like you have achieved, you know, nirvana.
Yeah. Now you've arrived.
You've arrived. Now, some churches teach that if you don't speak in tongues, you can't even get raptured.
Right.
They question whether you're even saved.
Yeah.
So these ideas,
Which is unbiblical.
100%.
Let's just clear that right now.
Let's just get that off the table.
Yeah.
So in the back of my mind, that's always floating around too, you know? So
So you're like, I got to speak in tongues to like really seal my salvation.
no, just the opposite at first. Well, I mean, that's in the back of my mind, but just the opposite. Like my new Baptist pastor is giving me literature because he found out that my sisters and my mom are Pentecostals. Like, this is why speaking in tongues is not biblical.
Oh, wow.
So my sisters invite me to this prayer meeting at the Hotia's house over in by Gresham, Oregon. And you know, I'm still struggling, trying to be a Christian, and my naive Pentecostal sisters invite me to a prayer meeting, but they're not as enlightened as I am now.
Right.
You know, being a Baptist, and by the way, being a Baptist is just fine. No one get your feathers ruffled.
Right.
Like my favorite people, I probably lean more Baptist now than anything, right? And a lot of my thinking, right? Especially after I moved to the South, right? I don't run pews. I don't wave flags. Like I'm sure people here think I'm Baptist, right? I never handle snakes, you know, but
but we're open to it. No.
Right? And hey, Christ met me where I was in a pretty dark place. So I'm sure he'll meet you where you're at too. Snakes and all. But we have some rabbit trails, brother.
What?
Yeah.
You and me?
We're going on rabbit trails like we're going to win a prize.
If there is a prize, bro, I'm going to get that prize.
The prize is people are clicking off. So, I'm going to go to this prayer meeting with my sisters to prove them wrong.
Oh, that's what you went?
Yeah, dude. It's like, and keep in mind, right? Growing up Romanian, you hear these stories of like, I tarried for the gift of speaking in tongues for 20 years.
Right.
And finally, after 1,000 hours of fasting, God gifted me with the gift of speaking in tongues, right?
Which is earn your salvation and earn God's favor theology.
Yeah. American people are listening to this and they're just, it's like,
but if that's the waters you swam in, it's what you know.
It's what you know, right? So like that did not help my Christian walk at all, right? In hindsight, it was probably pretty bad, right? Like, they could have taught Jesus saves, but they just taught, he can't wait to send you to hell. Like, I remember hearing prophetic words that come out in churches and the prophet would stand up like, I had a revelation, like 2 of y'all are saved. And the church would be like, oh, I was like, everyone repent, like this is a culture steeped in like works-based salvation, right?
Right.
And I laugh about it now, but it's a cryable thing to think about,
The fear and the panic and the hard work and the mortification, the suffering for God's, pleasure or whatever, like all of that. Those feelings are very real.
Yeah.
When you're in them.
Yeah.
And when you don't know any better, it's an agonizing struggle.
Yeah. So I go to this,
please God, right?
I go to this prayer meeting, and you got to understand Portland Romanian Pentecostal culture in the 90s is like, dude, every night of the week there was prayer meetings at someone's house. It was fire, right? Like teens everywhere. Right?
Really?
There'd be 100 people packed in the living room, just Holy Ghost praying.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So I get into the room and I sit as far away from the center of the prayer as I can.
Because that's where the most intense prayer is always in the center.
And Eddie, I remember I'm 22 years old and I'm praying, God, help these people see the error in their ways.
Wow.
They think they're experiencing something that they're really not. And dude, as I'm praying there, I realize something. I have no tears in my eyes. I have no conviction in my prayer. I have no anointing of the Holy Spirit on myself as I'm praying. And I'm looking around at 17, 18, 20-year-olds, adults with tears on their face, crying out to God, having a real experience. And then I started softening up to the idea. I played around the edge of the pool long enough that I fell in. And I look at them and I say, Lord, maybe if this is real, let me experience it. And I start praying out of nowhere, dude. Some words that I never heard of in my life come out of my mouth, and I feel something. And immediately the devil comes into my mind. I don't know it's the devil, but it's certainly the devil.
Yeah.
And he's telling me, that's all you'll ever taste.
Wow.
That's it. That's all you'll ever be able to accomplish.
Wow.
And this boldness wells up in me. And I just go whole hog, dude. God, I'm not going to leave here until you give me this infilling of the Holy Spirit.
Baptism, speaking in tongues, all of it.
I want all of it.
Yeah.
Jesus, I want all of it. I'm not even going to think about how undeserving I am of it. I know you're good, and I want all of it. Eddie, I start praying, and I feel this for the first time in my broken life. His presence. Like it felt like this warmth from the top of my head that was on fire all the way to the soles of my feet.
Was this your first real encounter with God?
My first real encounter. Wow. And I'm praying and I just let loose and this prayer language comes out of my mouth. I had no explanation for. It wasn't taught. It wasn't anything. It was something that was just pure and I couldn't stop it. And I was just praying. And I remember what seemed like minutes, but was hours passed by. I opened my eyes and everybody, the 100 people had left. And it was me and like 4 or 5 other guys left there. And there were tears in their face, knowing who I was. Amazed at what God had just done in my life.
Do you remember who some of those people were?
Danny Gale was in the room.
Danny Gale was there? Yeah.
He was there. Patricia Simedru was there. And they look at me and they're laughing with tears in their eyes. And I'm just going a million miles an hour speaking in tongues. I open my eyes and I can't stop speaking in tongues. It's flowing out of me.
Wow.
It's flowing out of me at like this crazy rate. And I'm weeping and I can't stop. And they're like, Brother Peterson, yes, last night, why don't you close out this prayer meeting in prayer? And I'm trying to talk to him in English and tongues is coming out. And I'm like, this is nuts. And I feel just so loved, and I feel God's presence.
Yeah.
And I don't want to let go of it, you know?
Like, I don't want to leave.
And,
This is amazing. Yeah.
I drive home just down 182nd. I go to my house and my wife's asleep on the couch.
Huh.
And
Oh, man.
I go to wake up Dominica and I wake her up and she looks at me. And at this point, I still can't stop speaking in tongues. She looks up at me from the couch in a stupor, and I'm just praying in tongues as I'm talking to her. And it was the craziest thing. Eddie, years later, I start reading the Bible, and I realize that when I pray in my heavenly language,
Right.
my mind is fruitless, but my heart, my spirit prays out the perfect prayer
Right.
unto God.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's what we believe as Pentecostals. Yeah.
Eddie, 22 years of unrepented hurt and pain and anger and vengeance and violence was spewing out of me in a way where I couldn't intelligibly ever pray about it.
Right.
But God in his love and his mercy gave me the power of the Holy Spirit, and it was inside and it was working commune with me
Yeah.
to shape my words, to give them utterance, to have my spirit directly in contact with my heavenly Father for the first time. And out was flowing this beautiful prayer where my mind was fruitless, but my heart was pouring out.
Right.
And all the hurts were pouring out, and all the hate and all the anger, dude, the endless amounts of anger were just pouring out. And, I hear about people going to prayer circles like, I think I got baptized in the Holy Spirit. I'm not sure. And I weep for them inside because, dude, my experience was so profound,
Yeah.
And I go home, I can't stop speaking in tongues, and this crazy thing happens. And I remember I'm over at my house in Thomas Place over there, our blue house, we call it, And I'm 22 years old, and for the first time in my entire, worthless existence, I go to bed, and I was like, Jesus, I've been terrified of your coming my whole life. But God, come tonight.
Oh, man.
God, come tonight for the first time. Of course, a surety of salvation existed before that, but I didn't.
Right.
I couldn't accept it because of my mentality. And now finally, what I considered the pinnacle, the peak of my Christian walk that it could ever be, God blessed it, bestowed it on me. So for the first time, I was just daydreaming, sitting in bed, Domini's sleeping, and I'm just weeping. I was like, God, what if I hear those trumpets tonight? And what if you come back tonight and I could just, before I screw this up, you could come just take me home. I didn't realize what was happening in the background is that my wife had gotten to a point where she was so unhappy about the situation that I had created that she was ready to leave me. And she told me later on that she was in the bathroom praying about it. And a prophetic word came forth through her own lips into a mirror in the bathroom. And she prophesied to herself, hold on a little bit longer. I have a plan for your husband.
I remember when she told me that testimony,
Yeah.
the taxi was out front, the bags were packed, and the kids were at your parents', correct? Or at her parents'.
I can't remember, dude.
Yeah, like she was leaving.
Yeah.
That was it, and not necessarily to divorce, but to, take a break, separate, something.
Yeah, and she had every right.
Yeah, and she had told me.
It was actually the same thing to do.
Right, and if I remember correctly, and I think I do, she had stopped by the bathroom before she was going to leave to the airport. And it was at that stop that it was, God spoke through her own mouth prophetically to herself in the mirror about hanging on a little bit longer.
I got this elaborate plan for your husband.
Yeah, and that if you stay with him, I'll use him and I'll change people's lives through him.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So that starts, dude. I'm consuming prayer meetings like it's going out of style, right? But I still don't know how to be right.
Right.
I still don't know how to be right, Eddie. So it took years. Like we'd get into fights and, you know, she would remind me of who I used to be,
Mm.
right? Because like I hurt her pretty good,
Yeah,
dude.
I get it.
You know? And then and I was just trying the hardest I can. And I remember we're leaving our greenhouse, right? This is a different house. I've been in the Christian way for a couple of years, you know? And she'd brought some things lovingly to my attention, like, hey, dude, you're going to church, you're going to also like when you're Romanian and you speak English and you're a Christian, what's the first thing they shove you into? Youth ministry.
Yeah, youth ministry.
Right. So
or
I'm
ushering.
a Christian for 15 minutes and I become a youth leader, right?
Yep.
So I remember the first time it happened. It was
Is that a Romanian church in Portland?
Oh yeah, dude, of course. My youth group was at Bethesda Romanian church. You know what we call ourselves? We call ourselves the Bethesda Bandits. All right, you guys were called alive. We were the bandits, brother. You know, we'd go camping with pit bulls, and I'd have a cargo van rolling through the Mount Hood National Forest with teenagers who were 15 plinking things out of the side of my van as I'm driving through the forest. Okay, illegal fireworks. That's the youth leader I was, dude. Okay, like I barely grasped salvation, and now I've been thrust into this position of mentoring these young men, and they loved it. They loved it.
Just shooting guns out of the side of a moving vehicle in the forest with their youth pastor.
Why not? Let's go
What could be
camping.
better?
You guys got some pit bulls? Let's bring some pit bulls. You know, like, I'm just trying to figure this out. You know, you guys are new Christians. So am I. I'm your leader. Hi, my name is Peter. We're driving somewhere, and I get mad, and I haul off and say a swear word, and I'm mad. And my wife looks at me, and for the first time ever, she acknowledges the change in my life, and she goes, "Peter, that's not like you." And she probably didn't think twice about it, Eddie. But it was the first time that I'd realized if I work hard enough, I could have a track record and people can notice a real change in me. Like my wife acknowledged unintentionally that that's not me anymore.
Yeah. It used to be like you.
It used
but
to be
it's
like
not
me,
like you
but it's
anymore.
not like me
Man.
anymore.
So subtle, but so deep.
Yeah. But coming from what I did, you know, people are like, how did you say yes to all the things you said yes to? It's like, easy, dude. Because
Just say yes.
I just know, because I know what he did for me.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
I know that I had achieved what I always desired, which was peace. Like I didn't achieve anything else that other people want to achieve. Like my number one goal, remember as a hurt kid, was to have a wife I loved, have kids that I loved, tell them relentlessly that I love them, and just have peace.
Yeah.
And for the first time ever, dude, it sounded so dumb in hindsight. All I always had to do was just to give him all my ugliness, and he would have exchanged it for all this. I didn't even have to wait till I was 22.
Yeah.
He's willing to do it for you right now. Like, why do we hold on to hurt for so long when there's one who made us, who knows what's best for us, that wants to take it all away in exchange for all that brokenness, give you a relationship, a sonhood, a Holy Spirit, love, presence, anointing, purpose. And it's just, that's why it's called the good news, because it's too good to be true. And I look at it and people are like, dude, how do you work? And how do you do the Christian walk like you do so passionately? Is because, dude, I feel it to my core. When I tell you Christ is able to free you, I know it in my soul, dude. I know it in my mind. I know it in my heart. When I tell people that Christ is able to fight for it, fight for your marriage.
Yeah.
I know that, dude, I know what God could do to a marriage. I know what he's working in the background. I know that you're here talking to me for a reason. I know that you're hearing this for a reason, because just like God was working 10 things in the background, he's doing it for you. You know, like how can I not be passionate about that when I go overseas for the first time to build an orphanage, and then I living in a mud hut for 8 months, you know? How can I not? How can I not do this for somebody else after what he did for me? How can I not? My wife's like, how can I not let him go into the mission field for 3-4 months out of a year after what he did for our marriage? Look what he did to my husband. Look what he did to our family. Look what the kind of father he is. Look at the kind of father he had and who he is. How can I not? How can I say no to that? What kind of wretched person would I be to
Yeah.
say no to the one who's allotted me the life that I now have and the peace that I now enjoy? It's a non-negotiable, you know? When you're talking about, oh, I don't have motivation to go do the right thing, and my mind is screaming, how can you not do the right thing? Don't you know the one who paid the price for you to be where you're at?
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head in that last sentence.
Yeah.
Don't you know the one who paid the price for you? And I think
Yeah.
that's the issue. I don't think that
Yeah.
people really know God.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like Pete, I was preaching about this not too long ago, about this specific thing where it's a subtle thing, and I think people who have had real experiences with God pick up on it. Where I'll just share with people, and I'll go, look, like I really believe that God is real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of people say they believe God is real, but their actions betray them. And
Yeah.
it's like, dude, if you really know God and you really believe He's real, these aren't even questions.
Yeah.
This is
These are non-negotiables.
no, it's
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I was watching that reel with Penn, I think is his name. He's a magician, Penn and Teller.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah. And he goes, I'm an atheist. And he goes, but the problem is something along these lines. He goes, you don't really believe in God. He goes, if you do believe in God, you're cruel. Because if you think that I'm going to hell for all of eternity, the fact that you're not telling me about Him 24/7 means that either you hate me or you don't really believe in God.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? That's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
But I think you're nail on the head. I think that people need to sit down and go, I know I claim to believe in God, but do you really believe that God is real? And
Yeah.
do you know Him?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this really cheap, wishy-washy, hey, repeat after me these words, and then, you don't have to go to hell for all of eternity. That's not a real relationship.
Yeah.
People claim all the time, yeah, I believe, but their actions betray them.
Yeah.
So the question is
They deny it by the walk of their lifestyle.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
do you really believe? And
Yeah.
the thing is the goal there isn't to, go, okay, well, I'm going to act so that way it looks like I believe. No, the goal there is to go, if my actions don't match what I say I believe,
Yeah.
then maybe you should analyze your beliefs and ask
Yeah.
yourself, do I really believe this?
Yeah. Well, not just believe that He's able to save and He's good enough to save, but Eddie, all those things I talk about, all that hurt, He never desired that for me.
No, never.
Yeah. He never desired for me to be hurt. He never desired for me to, have times in my life where I battle with suicide. He never decided any of those things. He never desired for me to have a marriage that I was ruining with my
Right.
anger and frustration, but He was able to use it.
Yeah.
He was able to use it. He was able to take all those things that He never desired for His Son to endure, and He was able to turn them into something beautiful,
Yeah.
a testimony that gives me passion, that gives my wife courage, that gives my life meaning, that I now draw my strength from a history of things He never desired for me to go through, but that He brought me out of.
Yeah.
He's able to take the worst stories in the world, and even though it didn't happen at His hand, He's able to use it. He's able to use it and they just make something absolutely stunning and beautiful out of it. Like something you could wear with honor. Like my past isn't something that's shameful. It's something that I talk about openly and I wear as a badge of honor, not because it's cool that I used to do drugs and drink and party. No, because look what Jesus can do, dude.
Yeah.
Look what He can do for me. Look what He did for me. Look what He did for Nolan.
Yeah.
Look what He did for Peter and Isaac with the father they now have. He's able to take all that hurt, all that bitterness, and somehow build something amazing out of it. Fuel to propel you through your Christian walk.
Yeah,
Through your
100%.
ministry, through the hard days. All I got to do is sit and reminisce for a second about how good He is. And tears well up, and I feel like I have strength to go conquer 1,000
Yeah.
mountains,
Yeah.
I was like, God, if you're good then, you're certainly good now,
Yeah. Yeah.
So also don't get discouraged. Like figuring out my Christian marriage took like a decade.
Right. It's not like it was, and then they lived happily ever after because Peter went to a prayer meeting.
Yeah. The end.
Yeah, the end.
Yeah.
This isn't Hollywood.
No, I didn't know how to figure things out, man. I had no Christian examples, like good, solid, like the guy who really led me to the Lord was divorced.
Right.
So like Romanians have 1 million marriages that have been around for 60 years unhappily. My parents were happily, like, unhappily married for like 60, 50 years, right? But they stayed together. God forbid you get divorced, you go straight to hell.
Right.
Straight to hell. Divorce, hell.
Yeah, we love quoting our low divorce rate percentage,
Yeah.
but the problem is you can't measure a successful marriage percentage.
Yeah.
You know, like are you happy together? Well, we didn't divorce. Well, that's good, but are you living happily together? It's like,
Yeah.
well, we
Yeah.
tolerate each other. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good marriages too, you know, but
Yeah.
it's just funny how we fall into that trap where it's like, as long as we don't get divorced, then God's not mad at us. And
Yep.
it's like marriage is designed to be more than not making God angry. You
Yeah.
know?
So I'm working through like what it means to be a Christian and a husband and a father now, you know? And I'm just learning how to do it. Like it's not like the old Peter is not just under the surface there. It's not like he somehow magically disappeared.
Mm.
I still have to battle with him every day. Like
Habits.
it's habits, mentalities, behavioral things that you still have, right? I remember like not that many years ago, you know, I was telling you how I sneezed, woke up, someone was breaking in my van, and I pummeled him. Like, dude, I was a spirit-filled Christian when I did that, right? It's like these things are still just under the surface. They're still there. Like I have to wake up daily, choose to pick up my cross and crucify my carnal self, you know?
But in your defense, you were half awake. And when you stopped to like fully wake up, the guy could put it into gear and drive away.
Me and Eddie know each other very well. So I start having to figure out how to be a good husband and a good dad. And dude, there's this amazing example whose name is Jesus, right? And he teaches us how to do it, right? He teaches like me on how to discipline my kids, how to raise them. And dude, I've raised kids who are amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you have.
the only way I achieved my greatest goals and dreams in my life was by letting everything go. I let everything go and received what I could not attain on my own. I couldn't father well, I couldn't husband well, but just from following his biblical examples, like husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. How did Jesus love the church? He didn't rub their faces in their sin and their mistakes, right?
He gave himself for her.
He gave himself for her, washing her, making her pure, making her perfect. It's like, dude, if there ever was something for a husband to grab a hold of in a marriage, is just love.
Yeah.
Love your wife. And God uses horrible things, right? I remember I was like 9 years ago, I was in Sacramento. My wife had a health scare.
I remember.
And I remember for like the first time I was really confronted with like, Domini, what if she dies? And I remember like God used it. Like, dude, all of a sudden I was like, I love this person more than anybody else. And I came to this realization, it's like, I love her more than my kids. Like, I can't lose this woman. Like that horrible experience of that fear just sparked this crazy appreciation and realization of who Dominica is in my life, you know? And now, you know, fast forward to like, you know, November, it'll be 25 years of marriage. Like, she is my best friend.
That's so awesome.
Like
that's what marriage is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Not just the avoidance of divorce,
yeah.
but a really healthy family.
If I had to go live on a secluded island with one person and that was Dominica for the rest of my life, I would be completely content. Like, I enjoy her company that much. Like, we'll be at sleep at night and I'll look over her and I thank God on a regular basis that she's my wife. Like, I look at her while she's sleeping with tears in my eyes, like, God, thank you. Thank you so much that she's my wife, that she stuck it out, that she's with me. Like, there's this crazy appreciation that I have for that woman. And it's not like it's a one-way road. Like, oh, you have a great marriage because you love her and she just receives everything. No, she is the most selfless individual that I know. Like, she is the first to sacrifice herself for somebody else, you know? Like, and it doesn't hurt that her love language is just showing love to me and the boys to cooking for us. Like, if you ask me what my favorite food in the world is, whatever I had for dinner last night.
Yeah.
You know, whatever she just last made me.
It also helps that she's an amazing cook.
Literally Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time we have a potluck, everybody in my house is like, what's Domini making?
What's Domi making? But it works out so well. So I'd like to kind of tie a bow in that whole my dad situation. Right?
Yeah.
So
Because you had that prophecy.
that, you know, if I turn my life to the Lord, God is going to save my dad, right? So I go on my whole life just thinking, you know, I compared that prophecy to like it was a Timu prophecy. Right? It looked good, but it wasn't really the original, right?
Nice.
It was Chauncey and fabricated in Taiwan, right?
The photos look nice.
Yeah, the photos look really good. Like I ordered a yacht and it's this big, right? 2 years ago, my dad, who at this point had been kind of out of my life, right? Like I had to make some hard choices with my family. Like I'm gonna protect him at all costs,
Right.
right? Like yeah, I'm just not gonna leave him in a situation to ever get hurt like I was hurt.
Which is the right thing to do as the head of the household and as a
Yeah.
man. You have to protect your family.
Yeah. You could honor your mother and your father and protect your children and your wife at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Just because I honor my mom and dad doesn't mean I agree with them on everything,
Right.
but I have to honor them, right?
Oh, 100%.
So my dad gets a cancer diagnosis. You know, this is like two going on 3 years ago, right? That's not that important, but he's living in Phoenix, Arizona, away from all of us. He's living there with my mom, you know, and he's getting sick like quickly, like it's eating up his body, right? And this man is afraid of death. My mom's telling me the doctor tells him like, "Hey, you're gonna die," and he breaks down and cries in the doctor's office because deep down inside, he's terrified of death.
He's scared.
He knows what's coming, you know? I remember me and you were at a trip to Tennessee and I had this epiphany where God showed me, it's like, dude, everything he is because I, at some point at 22, had a release of my anger and pain and an acceptance of Christ.
Wow. Yeah.
And he never had that.
I remember.
He never had that. And it made me view him so differently. Instead of just having hatred and bitterness towards him, I was like, he's lost.
Yeah.
He's never felt the release of God's anointing over him after he's confessed his sin, knowing that he's clean. He hasn't had that experience of going to bed, hoping that Jesus comes back because he's ready to go,
Yeah.
you know? And so when he gets this death sentence by the doctor, he weeps, right? Still every bit as miserable as he's ever been. Just as mean, a mean old cuss, just like he's always been, you know? And I go down to visit him, and I've put him so far in the rear view of my life that I've forgotten a lot of the ways he was. And I go to visit him and my mom in Arizona, and I quickly came to the realization he's the same person he always was. And I remember, like, dude, I have a beautiful wife. I have a brand new home in Tennessee. I have a career where I'm making money doing missions.
Right.
What the heck am I doing here? You know? And my mom's like an old Romanian lady, so she puts all kinds of things on the walls, like weird posters and stuff. And I remember I was sitting on the toilet, real spiritual, right? I was sitting on the toilet and I'm contemplating these things, and I look over my left shoulder. My mom had posted like this close to my shoulder. The bathroom's like this wide. There's the 10 Commandments on the wall, and I read, "Thou shalt honor your mother and your father."
Yeah.
And immediately the Holy Spirit's like, this is not based on how good they were.
Mm.
This is not based on whether they deserve honor. This is not based on any of that. And I realized, like, I have a wife watching me. I have young men that I've discipled watching me.
Yeah.
I have my sons watching me, you know?
And you being there isn't the testimony of their character. It's the testimony of yours.
Yeah. So I made up in my mind, it's like, dude, I'm going to love this dude even though he's impossible to love, you know? So this dude's basically impossible to love, right? Just miserable. So I'm working on this house because he's going to die. Mom has to sell it. He's a horrible carpenter. Everything's destroyed in it, right? I'm out in Arizona and Phoenix, mind you. It's 115. I'm digging trench lines for a leach field for a septic tank. I'm, taking apart a bathroom that he used a shop vac hose for the drain. Like just working every day, and just watching my dad fall apart. Like I remember laying down in bed with my bedroom door open and just watching this monster of a man I used to be so terrified of just walking past my doorway in nothing but an adult diaper, shuffling his feet, going to the bathroom. Like that's one of the images I have stuck in my head. Like this monster, this big guy, right? My dad was a beast of a man, his calves were the size of my thighs, and just whittling away, and I'm a minister. My sisters are calling me every day.
The pressure.
Did you lead God? Did you lead Dad God yet?
Wow.
Like, yeah, I didn't ask for this.
Yeah, I remember. I
Yeah.
remember you would call me. You'd be
I'll
like,
call you. He's like,
you'd be like, dude,
I got this crazy. And
rough.
hey,
Praying for you, man.
they didn't desire a bad thing.
No,
And it
no.
wasn't unreasonable to think that I'm his only son, and I'm a Christian, and I'm a missionary, and I'm
Positionally, you're the best person to speak to him
the
about
best
it.
person to
Yeah.
think about it, right? So I'm just trying to talk to him, while I'm shaving him. I'm trying to talk to him while I'm giving him his injections. I'm trying to talk to him,
Yeah.
while I'm working on this house. I'm trying to talk to him. And I was like, God, what am I going to do? I'm leaving tomorrow. I got a flight to go home. What do I do? And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I've never prayed with this man. I've never done anything spiritual with this man. The Holy Spirit led me to pray for him and thank him for all the things that he's done for me.
To thank your dad for all the things that he's done for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I sit there. He's just sitting in a diaper on the edge of his bed. Mom's standing right there. I got this little tiny mom. She's standing there where all three of us hold hands. And I just go into this completely spirit-led prayer.
Wow.
I said, God, I thank you so much for Petro Boros. I thank you so much that he taught me how to work hard. I thank you so much, God, that he went to prison to fight for a life that I have now in America. I thank you so much that I always had a roof over my head. I thank you so much that my father always made sure I didn't die of starvation. I always had food on the table. I thank you that he was always there and he didn't abandon me. I thank you so much, God. I forgive and I thank you for him. And at this point, we're all weeping.
Yeah.
Me, my mom, my dad. I've never prayed with my dad.
Yeah.
You know?
Special moment.
It was a real special moment, Eddie. I go outside. My Uber's waiting for me to take me to the airport. And my mom runs outside. She goes, Peter, you don't know what you did. I go, what are you talking about, Mom? She goes, he was convinced you would never be able to forgive him. He's convinced himself that there's no way that my son could ever forgive me. And he goes, he basically crushed him right now. It wasn't this whole laying out Jesus.
Right.
It wasn't this elaborate sermon. It wasn't talking about what happened and transpired at the cross.
He knows all of that.
He knows all of that, right? He knows all of it. It was an act of forgiveness, an acceptance of who he was, good and bad and all of it together.
Right.
And it was just me allowing myself to be led by the Spirit.
Yeah.
Being faithful when it didn't make sense. I could have been right or I could have been happy in the end.
That's it.
I could have been right and said, God, I don't have to go there.
Right.
Or I could be happy that what transpired.
Yeah.
So I leave and I have a pastor friend who's in Phoenix, and my dad, I have a conversation, with him, and he agrees to see a pastor, this Romanian pastor. I even forgot his name, but it's unimportant. But this Romanian pastor is like, dude, it'd be my pleasure to go pray with your dad. And he was supposed to go like on a Wednesday, but my dad was doing really rough. Like he was going to die. So I was like, hey, I know it's Monday. Can you come on Monday? He goes, this is what I live for, Peter. I'm a pastor. This is, it's like, I wasn't expecting that of him, that someone would be so willing to help me in my time of need. So he goes over there.
This was Jilu Bonta, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you're listening to this, Jill, thank you. My whole family thanks you, brother. But he goes there and he calls me afterwards, like gives me a report, and he goes, I asked your dad if he'd allow me to pray with him, and he did. I'd asked your dad if he'd allow me to anoint him with oil, and he did. And then he goes, I brought communion with me. Me and my wife were there, and I brought 4 cups, and your mom was there. And I said, you want to take communion, Petra? And he's like, yeah. So my dad sitting there, gets anointed, has a prayer confession. Takes communion with my mom.
Yeah.
I've never seen my dad take communion.
Yeah.
He gets to do that with my mom, who's been the butt of all of his bitterness and anger her whole life. They take communion. Joe leaves, gives me this phone call. That afternoon, he goes on, falls asleep, and dies. And that was his now legacy. And I look back at that prophetic word as like,
Yeah.
Eddie, it was real, but my timing, I wanted it to be the way I wanted it to be. And God had a different plan that was better than anything I could have ever orchestrated. If I had the right at the ending to Petru's life, I couldn't have written it as good as he did,
Mm,
you know? And my mind is like, I'm gonna get water baptized. My dad's probably gonna be the next one,
right.
you know? What words would have my dad listened to me from? What would an 18-year-old kid tell his dad that he'd listen to?
Right.
God had a plan. He was gonna carry me through the fire. He's gonna take me through 25 years of being a good dad, a good husband, a good Christian. He's gonna take me through 25 years of becoming a minister, someone who's respected, a missionary, and then he was gonna take that believer and go witness to Petru. God was always faithful. He always knew what he was gonna do, and he did it in a wonderful way,
Mm,
in a way where he couldn't squander it the next day. Like he accepted Jesus, he accepted forgiveness, he died. And now we have the funeral, and it's like this celebration. We all knew who my dad was, and we all knew the story at the end. And instead of being like a sad funeral where we just sit and lament about his greatest hits of the
right.
worst things he's ever done, his family, his relatives, my family, relatives, pastors, his wife, his kids, his grandkids, his great grandkids. Hey, his great grandkids
Yeah.
are all on stage singing Christian music, worship songs.
Yeah.
Like it was this beautiful scene.
Mm,
And at the end, his final day exemplifies the grace that is in Christ.
right.
He took all of that crap, all those 75 years of horribleness, and God was able to take all of that and at the very end put his hand on it
Mm,
and say, even that I died for.
yeah.
Even that I went to the cross for. Even that my blood is good enough to wash and make clean. And that's what he left us with.
Yeah.
And it's just such a beautiful thing, Eddie. It's such a beautiful thing that God is able to create beauty out of ashes.
You know, for anybody who's listening that thinks or has thought, but Eddie, Pete, you guys don't understand. My life's the exception.
Yeah.
Listen to me. Your life is not the exception.
Yeah.
There isn't a limit to the love of God, to the transformative power and ability of God. And so the funniest thing is how much we think that, you know what, okay, fine, I'm going to get my life right. So I'm going to work really hard out of my own strength to white knuckle it, right?
Yeah.
To arrive at X, Y, and Z. And it's like, that's like saying I have a broken leg and I got to heal it before I go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And it's so much about surrender. And it's wild how much we hang on. And you at your early 20s let go and you found freedom,
Yeah.
and your dad at the end of his life let go and met Jesus.
Met Jesus.
Yeah. And it's like, man, just the importance of understanding that you can't follow God until you deny yourself. Like it's got to begin with the letting go.
It's not just a denial of self and a way of not sinning. It's a denial of self, of your preconceptions of how he should love you in his timing.
That's
right?
really good. That's
My
clear.
timing, okay, I let go of drinking and I let go of alcohol. I let go of my worldly ways, but I didn't let go of how I think he should function.
Right.
You know, like God, okay, I got baptized. Why is my dad not a Christian?
Right.
I had to let go to that.
Yeah.
Actually, for 25 years, I got tired of praying about him, and I just gave him into the Lord's hands. I said, God, I've prayed enough about this man.
I don't know what else to do.
He's in your hands. Send somebody to minister to him. Don't send somebody to minister. I don't have anything left to feel for him. You know? I had to die to my timing. Dude, his timing was perfect.
Yeah.
You know? I have to die to what it meant that he loves me perfectly, because I couldn't receive it. I couldn't receive it in the beginning. Like everyone was screaming it to me. God was sending people to my path to tell me,
Right.
to remind me.
Right.
Like, dude, he loves you and you could be saved today.
Yeah. That's too simple.
It's too simple. Everything in my life as a man is based upon my my good, like what I could provide. Like I'm as good a husband as much as I can provide. I'm as good a father as much as I provide.
Right.
Churches will only allow me to serve and promote me as long as I'm able to abstain from sin and produce good things and preach good messages. Like I could only keep a job based on how good I work and how much money I make a company. Like everything in my mind is based on what value do I bring to my table to the table to earn something in return for it.
Yeah.
And here stands this Jesus who made me, who knew the days of my life before I ever lived a single one of them. And he knew me at my worst. And the hardest thing to accept is that he loved me at my worst.
Yeah.
Not based on who I would become. Jesus didn't die for the Christian I am today.
Right.
For the man of God I am today. He died for me at my very worst version of myself.
Right.
You know, when I cried out to him that I was about to lose it, you know, just everything that was so dear to me. He died for that. And like accepting that changes everything, because you no longer serve Christ out of a fear of that he might withhold his salvation. And
Right.
I got to serve Christ because if I don't do good, he's going to hold back a blessing for me. He's going to hold back forgiveness from me. And he's like, no,
I'm going to upset him and he'll
I'm going to
punish
upset
me.
him. It's like, God, nuya dultel dalamina, right? We
Right.
sung about it in church. Like, don't take your Holy Spirit from me, God, you know? And we go whole hog into these adventures in ministry out of not at the right motivation, but out of a fear that I gotta earn my salvation. I gotta earn his forgiveness, as instead of the beautiful way that he designed it. He designed it to where he loved you perfectly at your worst. And the realization of that is supposed to motivate you to serve him and witness him, and give a testimony out of that. It's like, oh God, I don't deserve it, but look what he did for me. God, I don't deserve it, but look how well you love me. God, I didn't deserve it, but hey, while I wasn't deserving it, you were setting up all these chess pieces from when I was a child. You put people into my path that would lead me to you. You did all that for me, like at the foundations of the world. You had that plan. Like someday there would be this miserable, disgusting 22-year-old Peter, but oh man, when he figures out it's gonna be 2,000 years from now after the cross, right? I got this elaborate plan, and when he realizes what I did, it's gonna knock his socks off. Like he loved me that much when I was that far off that he made all these things correlate and come hand in hand, that I would come to the realization one day that, dude, you loved me when I was imperfect. Now I got to love you out of that, not out of a sense of servitude to you because you did something and now I owe you something. I serve you now because I'm passionate, because I know what you could do for me. I serve you because you deserve to be served. Not because you'll ever take anything from me, because if you were ever going to take anything from me, it would have been when I was unrepentant. No, how can you take it away from me now after I've walked with you for 22 years, 23 years, right? You would have taken it away from me then, but you know, like you have to die to the mentality that he's just waiting to withdraw his hand from you. You know, I have to die to that. It's like, hey, dude, I'm going to mess up. And when I do, he's going to forgive me again. And if I mess up another 1,000 times, like not only will he forgive me, he's already forgiven me.
And it's not like, you know, so we sin, so grace abounds, right? Like Paul says. But the thing about it is I feel like, man, in our own worldview of Jesus, we fall into one of two mentalities where we go, oh, okay, well, the Lord wants to save me for who I'm going to become, or that's like the initial investment, because God's going to get a return on investment, you know, for what I'm going to produce for him. So, you know, he's going to...
I'm going to bring him back 10 talents.
Exactly, you know? And it's like, no, God didn't save you for what you're going to do or for who you're going to become. The wild thing to realize, like growing up in a mentality of trying to earn your own salvation, is the realization that the very thing that God wanted from me was me. He wanted me.
Well, he wanted my brokenness.
He
wanted my pain.
Like we view God as like the God of like the perfect people, but he's not. He's the God of the broken people. That's who he's after, you know? And then the opposite extreme that we view is we go, oh, okay, so like, right, everything of value costs something. The higher the value, the greater the cost, right? The greater price that has to be paid. And so you're like, oh, okay, so then because it doesn't cost me anything, right? Salvation's free, because it doesn't make sense compared to everything else in my life that I have to earn. Okay, so salvation's free. And then we devalue salvation, and it's like, no.
It must be worthless.
It's not free. It's free for me, but it wasn't free for Jesus. There was still a cost. And so like the extreme that we fall into is, it costs me, so I have to pay for it. No. Oh, okay, then it doesn't cost anything. No. It still costs, but it just costs Jesus. So it's like you live in that perpetual, I can't believe you paid for me. You paid it. There was a cost. It was paid. It's not like sin was disappeared. Sin was paid for. You know, and finding that healthy balance in life where it's like, man, I'm not going to try to earn it. but at the same time, I'm also not going to ignore it like there wasn't a price to be paid.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to live out of that perpetual propulsion of gratitude and of grace and of mercy and of love and in relationship with Jesus. And then that's when, like, you know that song where it starts off, the song "Good Good Father."
Yeah.
You and I sing that together a lot and talk about it a lot. Um, but it starts off with that sentence where it says, "I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like."
Yeah.
And it's like, man, whenever I talk to people that are like stuck in religion or that are stuck in this like a very like progressive theology where it's like everything's fine, you know,
Yeah.
some kind of universalism or whatever, I think of that song, man, and it's just like, man, I've heard 1,000 different people try to tell me what you're like, but I know you. Like, I know what you're really like.
Yeah.
Like I've heard your voice in like the dead of night. I've heard your whisper. I've walked with you, and nobody's gonna convince me otherwise. Like, no one's gonna explain to me, oh, God's actually this way. It's like, no, I talked to him. Like, I had somebody tell me once, they go, Eddie, the Lord told me to tell you X. And I've had prophetic words that are real. I've also had a lot of false prophecies in my life.
Oh yeah.
Right. And the thing is
More than not.
and more than not.
Yeah.
That's the truth of it, because of the lack of accountability and
Not even ill intentioned.
yeah. A lot of times it's just
When they start
somebody
off
with
with
the
"I
right intention.
feel."
Yeah. And so I remember somebody told me, they said, I feel like the Lord's telling me to tell you this, And I remember the first thought that went into my head was, well, I talked to him all day. I was praying this morning. I was praying driving over here, and he didn't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
Like he lives inside of me, right? That's what Scripture teaches us, right? That we're the temples of the Holy Spirit, right? That mystery that's hidden from the generations and the ages, which is Christ in you,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, no, the Lord lives in me, and don't get me wrong, God's given me prophetic words where I needed to hear it, but yeah, I think it's so important to understand a couple of things. One, that you don't have to earn it. That's not why God saved you. He didn't save you to make something for him. He's not a boss. You're not an employee. Not the opposite extreme where it's like, well, then it costs nothing. No, it costs something. And then, the greatest thing that I think that I really enjoy looking back, because looking back sometimes rough, where you're like, I wish I knew
Yeah.
then what I know now, But the good thing about looking back and cringing or going, I wish, it means that I see things differently today than I saw them then.
Yeah.
And that means that I've grown.
Yeah.
Because then I made the best decisions that I could with the information that I had.
As terrible as they were.
Right? As terrible as they were. And now today, looking back, I'm like, oh, I would never do that. Well, that's really good.
Yeah.
It means that I don't see things the way I used to anymore, and I've grown. My dad says to me, and you know my dad very well. And my dad says to me, he goes, your little brother Joe in the morning will go up into the upstairs room, and he'll spend time in prayer. And he goes,
What a win as a dad.
right? So, but he says it like in a way that he feels bad. And he goes, I should do that more, and I see my son doing that. And he goes, it's to my shame that I'm not doing that more, this rushine,
Yeah.
And I said, no, Dad. I go, your desire, like my desire, is that my kids will be better Christians than I am.
100%.
Right. And so if you see your son praying more than you do, I said, Dad, felicitari. Congratulations. I said, you've accomplished your goal as a dad.
Yeah.
And that's like,
Well done.
Right? Like, that's something you can take pride in. Like, oh, my sons are outpacing me. Man, that's the hope. That's the desire.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, man, yeah, be in that real relationship. Understand that, you're gonna do better in the future. And as long as you're doing better than you did before, that's who you're comparing yourself to.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Eddie. Yeah. And so it's a powerful testimony and a great journey.
The fuel that fuels my engine for going forward is a reverence for what he had done.
Yeah.
And not a fear of what he'll take away. Like, I look at what he's done in my life and how big his love is, and that's what propels me forward.
Yeah.
Not a sense of I owe you one.
Right.
It's like, dude, you're so good. You're deserving of this.
Yeah.
You're so good. You deserve my life. You deserve my family. Everything that I have is because of you anyways. You deserve all of it.
It's my joy to sacrifice for you, Lord.
Eddie, all the things I spoke about today, every one of my siblings, my mom, every one of my nieces and nephews, their spouses and their kids are all in church.
Yeah. That's huge, Pete.
Yeah. All of us.
Hmm.
We're all believers. Jesus is Lord over the life of every individual that came from that man.
Including that man.
Including that man. Yeah. But it's I feel bad for people who, we had talked about this before. We talked about how far is too far and how close can I live to the edge without going to hell.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what we're talking about right now is the way we're designed to be. Just full throttle, going ahead, experiencing setbacks, but just wholeheartedly going forward in ministry. Like I never sit contemplate whether I'm saved or how close I can get to the edge.
Yeah, never.
It's just a constant, what could I do better?
Yeah.
God, I know I suck at this. How can I change this in my life?
Yeah.
God, convict me more about this. I know I'm failing in this. It's just constantly trying to make myself better. Why? So I could be a better witness.
Yeah.
Not because I could somehow magically please God by abstaining for more things. That he's done such a good thing in my life that I need to reflect his love somehow out through my daily actions and my walk. That people who don't know Christ and know me need to know Christ by just looking at me.
They better be able to figure out that I'm a Christian.
And dude, it's not that I don't fail at it.
Right.
I fail at it all the time.
Yeah.
I get back up and I go to my Father in that brokenness. And I was like, hey, I totally messed up again. I don't deserve it.
Right.
Here I am again, God. Sorry again.
Hello, Lord. It's me again.
Yeah. But it's true repentance is not just saying, hey, sorry again, forgive me again.
Right.
That just means a turning around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to live that way. I'm sorry. I'm working on it. Please help me.
Yeah. He doesn't really need the words. He just needs me to see a change in my actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, life's been ups and downs. Like the testimony is crazy, but it's given me a profound appreciation of everything. Like, one of the things I brag about is that my son Peter calls me every day. He's 23 years old. He's moved out about a year ago. And every day he calls me, just, hey, Dad, how you doing? Just checking in.
That's the best.
And sometimes I even dare be annoyed by it. Like, dude, I'm working, dude. What's Peter want? Hey, Dad, just checking in. I love you. And it's like, man, God, you're so big.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I sit in awe and it brings tears in my eyes to think that he has allowed me the grace to be the bridge, to be the end of cycles of brokenness into acceptance in a relationship with Christ. Like, God, why did I get to experience this grace?
Right.
Why wasn't it someone else? Why wasn't it Peter and his wife and kids in the future? Why wasn't it my dad? Why have you given me the honor of being the stop to this cycle of hurt and anger?
Wow.
God, you've let me live these days to see this end. Like that stigma, that history ends with me. And because of you, Jesus, it now gets to be good for them.
Right.
What a great honor, dude.
Right.
What a great honor.
What a great honor. Yeah. And there has to be struggle in order for there to be overcoming.
100%.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you this. I don't know if you remember, Pete. I assume you do. But when I was visiting you guys up in Portland, I remember watching you interact with your kids. And you know how people always say, your kids are going to hit the teenage years and then they're going to go wayward for a bit and they come back, and that was just kind of like an accepted thought that everybody has, And I remember watching you and your kids, and I told you one day when we were hanging out, and I go, man, I look at how you're raising your kids, and you are such a role model for me, because my kids are a bit younger than yours. Mine are 8 and 11, and yours are 18 and 22, Yeah, 23. And I remember looking at how you were with your kids when they were little, and I had just had a baby. And I thought to myself, dude, that's how I want to be a dad. Like, and what I realized was, just watching you and your boys, what I realized was, it's not about having everything figured out. It's just about loving them deeply.
Yeah.
And then, like, your kids never went through that, like, horrible rebellious phase where they went wayward and came back. And then I look at other friends of ours, like Danny and Deanna Ishvan, and they have amazing kids, and they never went through this, like, rebellion.
Those kids are soldiers, man. They just report. They watch Dad in the service. Those kids are impressive.
Yeah, dude, we look at John and Lavi Dobrea, and, good friends of ours, and it's like, man, your kids don't have to go through a rebellious phase. If you just love them and you stay close to them, you can have a wonderful relationship with them all throughout their years. And that's always been like my goal, to like replicate that with my boys.
Thank you for that. It means a lot.
Hey,
what a wild thought that God's able to make promises and keep them. What a wild thought that he's able to deliver on his promises, that my kids won't depart from it if I invested to them when they're young.
This is where it comes back, where it's like, dude, I really believe in God.
Yeah.
Like I know we say it a bunch. I know it's cliched. I know, but let's like, dude, like, do you really believe? Like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I really believe that if God promised it, He'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's just that simple. And maybe I'm too ignorant and dumb to challenge that thought process over and over. But I just believe it because God said it, and I just don't care. And the results speak for themselves.
They speak for themselves. Yeah. It's His goodness in my life is on display for everybody.
Yeah.
And then by no means can I attribute it to anything that I've muscled up with my own strength. Like I might be talented, I might be strong, but nothing that I currently have, nothing that I currently have is attributed to me. It's all God has given it to me and had grace on me. And it wasn't because I gave Him something great in return. I gave Him a broken kid.
Yeah.
And He gave me all this.
To the listeners that are part of that cycle, God absolutely wants you to be the one that breaks that cycle in your family. He wanted your dad to be the one, your mom to be the one, and if they weren't, whatever. But He wants you to be it. And if not, He wants your kids to be it. But He wants to break that cycle, and it's just about making yourself available, surrendering to the Lord. And it's not about knowing the way. It's just about saying, I don't know how, but I'm going to do my best to try to figure this out and not letting off the gas. And just going after Him.
Yeah, just wholeheartedly. It'll change your whole world, man. Because once you see Him starting to deliver, like you see things that aren't right and you could sniff them out right away.
Right away.
Yeah, like, oh, you sowed this $1,000 seed and God will give you a harvest, Like you see all these different things and these different angles on Christianity. It's like, dude, you guys got it so wrong.
Yeah.
You don't got to give him $1,000. You got to give him your whole everything. You give him everything. And it's so much better than you could ever imagine,
And I wouldn't trade the sacrifices for anything.
I wouldn't trade the experiences. I wouldn't trade the hardships.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, I would have been nicer to Domini earlier.
Yeah. No, I mean, if our story, if your story and our journey together and all of that, like, can encourage anybody, it's like, man, please be encouraged to follow the Lord wholeheartedly. There is no better life than you can live, and there is no better experience that you can have, and there's no better adventure to be on. And it's like, I wouldn't trade it. Like everything else doesn't even come close to compare.
Yeah.
Not even close. No.
On a difficulty level, where is it?
The hard part is getting out of my own way.
Yeah.
It's just the surrendering.
That's 100% it.
Yeah.
It's like the hardest thing. Like it's easy to quit drinking. It's quitting drugs, all that. Easy. You're quitting yourself, getting yourself out of the way.
Yeah.
To receive what He has in store for you.
I liken it to jumping off of like a high dive. Like, it's so hard when you're up there, but the second that you go, all right, I'm in, and you jump, it's just like you're in a free fall, and you're like, come with me. And then there's so much journey, experience, adventure on the other side. Like it's really hard until it's not.
Yeah.
And then it's working it out, and then it has its own hardships in working it out. But walking with the Lord, dude, I wouldn't trade that for anything. Brotherhood, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah.
It's so important to not be alone in the journey.
Yeah.
To have people to go, through it with, if you can, if a spouse, other brothers, and I think of Bub, I think of Travis, I think of the Wilsons, I think of all the people in your life and in your story. It's like, dude, brothers that you have in ministry, they don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to care for one another and desire the Lord, and then you figure it out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, if they were perfect, I wouldn't have hung out with them.
Yeah.
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 They have to kind of look and smell like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they were perfect, I don't think they would have hung out with me or with you.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Absolutely.
they're too good. It's too religious. They don't
Goody
hang
two
out.
shoes,
Yeah.
squares.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Pete, for sharing your journey up to that point. I'm sure later on we'll talk about from the Bethesda Bandits forward.
Some of the best memories of my life.
That's great, man. I wonder if those guys still think about those days.
Oh, I still keep in touch with some of them.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we'll pick up this conversation in one of our future episodes. But thanks for sharing, man, for being vulnerable. Thank you for the encouragement. I know this is going to minister to so many people. And if this is ministered to you, please feel free to reach out. Write us a DM. I'll make sure that it gets to Pete. And it's been a really good time.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, man.
Always a joy, man.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys. God bless.
Bye.